views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Welcome this evening, welcome community, welcome board members to our February meeting of Community Board 12. So as you can see, the surroundings here are a little bit different this month. My name is Dr. Michael Burke and I am the chairman of Community Board 12 here in the Bronx. So we have a fantastic evening scheduled for you this evening. We have a guest coming in. Senator Schumer is coming in to greet us. So we look forward to what he has to say to us. But in the meantime, this is a time, of course, where it is your time, Community Speaks. But before we begin, I would like for all of us to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if I may, get us started by saying the following. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So thank you very, very much, board. I really and truly, appreciate you and appreciate being here. So what I like to do before we get started is, for those who are unaware, share the agenda for the evening so that you will see exactly what we are doing, and that is not the one I want to share. So let me come here. So hopefully everybody can see my screen with the agenda, and if you cannot, please let me know. And I probably need to turn the TV on so that I can see what's going on myself. But hopefully everybody can see my agenda. It says that I'm sharing, so here we go. So the first session is the public gallery session, and of course, and that's where we, the community board, and our elected officials get to hear from you. So here's how this is going to work. The public gallery session is for the public only. It is not for board members. It has come to my attention that there are some board members that would like to, quote unquote, question my leadership, and they want to address the board. And at the time during the meeting as such, you can do as such. If you want to have that discussion, although it should have been had at our executive committee meeting, nonetheless, being that I'm a patient guy and I'm an understanding person, I will allow that to happen, but in due time. However, we will not have any disruptions of the community speaks or when our elected officials come in. So board members, if you have something to say to me, then more than likely than not, that's going to take place after the Black History presentation. So for those board members that want to address me and the way that they feel that I lead or do not lead this board, then we can address that after the Black History Month first presentation. And as I stated before, Senator Charles Schumer, the majority leader of the United States Senate, will be addressing us in a little bit. And we also have a presentation by Mr. Pitt, Matthew Pitt of the New York City Campaign Finance Board. And so he's going to come to discuss with us about ranked choice voting, and we're going to continue as usual with the agenda. So if there aren't any further questions, what I would like to do then is begin the community speaks. Now, I'm looking for Ms. Nicole Weir, and it does not look like she is here as of yet. So what I'm going to ask is the following. If you would like to speak, I would like for you to put it in the chat. So if you were to put it in the chat and let me know that you would like to speak, since Mrs. Weir is not here, then that would be great. And then of course I will recognize you and you will have 3 minutes. So this is the community speaks portion of the community board meeting. So what you can also do is raise your hand also. And I see Mr. Royer, who has raised his hand. And so let me see if I can find you, Mr. Royer. Okay, Mr. Royer, I see you, and I do not know Is there a number that you have, the last digits of your number? And I see, Pam, you have your hand raised as well. So one other thing, I want to mention something to you. If you are on the phone and you would like to raise your hand, then I ask you to dial *9. I think that's the command to raise your hand. And so it's *9 if you're on the phone. So I am looking for Mr. Royer, and I see you, Mr. Royer. So you can now unmute yourself and feel free to address your community board.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So my name is Chad Royer, and I'm actually speaking on behalf of a few people who I know who live and reside in your community board, although I do not live there. The concern that I wanted to bring up is one of a noise nuisance regarding a particular area around, I want to say 216th and Barnes Avenue, Barnes and Bronxwood. My concern is not only the noise coming from individuals who may not come from the neighborhood, but also the gathering. I know this was an issue from last year, and my concern, and also my colleagues' concern, is a repeat. So I wanted to at least bring it to the board's attention if it has not been brought, and figure out if there's a committee that we can take this further with.
Okay. Well, Mr. Royer, you're in luck because at our meeting is the president of the 47th Precinct Community Council. So I just sent a message to her to ask her to unmute herself because, you know, although the community board deals with certain issues, she can deal with that directly. And I think also McCalla is on here as well, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I saw her check in. So Pam, if you would go first, and then
I'm sorry, can you just repeat the question?
I think the question was, there's a noise complaint that is going on, I think on 216th Street, I thought I heard. They say between White Plains Road and Bronx, which is kind of a wide spot here.
Barnes,
okay, in Barnes, okay.
Is this a consistent noise? Is it going on now? Are you reporting it now, or?
No, what happened, it has started, it has manifested itself since the pandemic from last summer, and there's actually a worry that it can manifest itself again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's predicated by gathering of people, not necessarily from the neighborhood. And the reason I'm bringing this now, I'm just finding this out now. Well, my friend happens to live in that area, and I wanted to bring it forth.
Okay, what is your name? And I'm going to send you my personal phone number in the chat.
Sure, it's Chad Royer.
Okay, I'm going to send it to you now.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So thank you. And so I asked
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, not a problem. So again, thank you. And as I said, Mr. Johnson, thank you for being able to assist with that. So I am looking next. I'm looking at, okay, so I see Vivian Vasquez. All right. So Vivian, I'm going to try to find you. And in the meantime, I see you. Okay. So Vivian, you are welcome to speak.
Hi, good evening all. Hope everyone is well. I'm sorry I'm in the dark. My light is not too good here, but I wanted to follow up on what Mr. Royer was talking about. So I live on East 237th Street, and the constant playing of music is constant. It's constantly played in, especially during the spring and summer months. I'm already beginning to feel like, oh my God, it's coming, it's coming. So the problem is not so much like how many times do they play, because sometimes what we have is people who compete with their different music, which is why I love the Bronx. You hear so many different kinds of music playing, that's great. But when it's above noise level, when it's after 9, when it's like at 7 o'clock in the morning, then it becomes real inconsiderate to all the neighbors that we have around us. And I don't have to tell you, we're diverse, right? We have senior citizens, we have young people who have to go to school, et cetera, et cetera. And the issue that I have is that if I want to make a noise complaint, what I am directed to do is to call 311. And at that time, 311 will say, well, we cannot do anything now. We will have to take a look at it. And in several days, we will, go to your block. And that is not realistic because I don't know, who knows when 311 or whoever comes to investigate a noise on a Saturday night when I call it. So nothing happens in real time. If I try to reach out to the precinct, and I have so many dozens of times, no one picks up the phone, especially the community affairs office. I cannot, especially if it's like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, and the noise is just out of control. There is no one in real time that can come and get the music, get the noise level down. So I'm wondering, is there a response to that? Because it doesn't feel like what can someone do if someone's playing their music at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Okay, so thank you. And again, I'm going to turn this over to our 47th Precinct Community Council President, Mrs. Pamela Hamilton Johnson. So
what you can do is we have build-a-block meetings in our NCO officers. And what I can do is I will put you in touch, Vivian, with what's the address? 238th, you said?
237th.
237. I'm going to put my phone number in the chat, not to take up time in this meeting, and then we can take it further and make sure that you have the phone numbers directly to those officers that are assigned to your sector.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so again, thank you, Mrs. Johnson, and thank you, Vivian, for coming in and making that known to us. So I know, Pam, you want to say something because we've spoken. Is there, before I let you speak, Pam, is there anybody else in Community Speaks that is from the community? Because I'm looking in the chat, and as I said, if you're on the phone, then to raise your hand, the command is *9. The command is *9 if you are on the phone and do not. And if I can see you, so that is, okay, I see Miss, do you say that Antonetti? Okay, I see you. I see you, Mr. Antonetti. Okay, so Mr. Antonetti, welcome to Community Board 12. You can unmute yourself and you can speak.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jermaine Antonetti. I am the Community Relations Liaison for Councilman Kevin Riley. I grew up in the community. I am here just to say hello and get everybody familiar with me. I grew up with Miss Egeria at the school of the Yellow Schoolhouse right behind my building. I was also a police explorer for the 45th Precinct. I was a sergeant for 7 years, and I grew up singing behind Vi Higginson and Gospel for Teens. If you've seen the last version of Mama I Want to Sing, I played the music director for 3 years straight in an on-running play in Japan and in New York State. So if you have any questions or concerns, I'm going to leave my email in the comments, and so you guys can feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so you are welcome. So, even though we haven't gotten to the elected officials yet, I guess we were getting started early, but, we appreciate, you coming in and, of course, knowing our first vice chair is always good, so again, thank you. As I said, she's the absolute best, and I'm glad that she's on the team. So, anybody else from the community, if you could raise your hand for Community Speaks, not board members, but members of the community. And again, if you're on the phone, it is *9 if you're on the phone. Okay. Well, Pam, looks like you are up because, as I said before, I don't see anybody else. So the floor is yours.
Okay, so my name is Pamela Hamilton Johnson, former school board president in this district. And of course, right now I am working with the Department of Education. And just an announcement, the school board, which is now called the CEC, is having their election. So if you are a parent of a Department of Education, you have a student in the DOE, you are eligible to run and vote for specific councils. The deadline actually was February 28th, which is Sunday, but they've now extended it to March 4th. So if you know of a parent who wants to run, to be on a council and run to be a candidate, please give them that information. I'll even put the information in the chat. And secondly, I am the president of the 4-7 Precinct Community Council. Our meeting is on 3/10/21. It's at 7 p.m. And that concludes the report. Thank you so much. Quick and easy.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Johnson. We do appreciate you, and we appreciate everything that you do. I have a question for you while we're here. When is the next Build a Block meeting?
There is one going on right now. I'm in both meetings. There's
Okay.
and it's ridiculous that down Police Plaza they're not mindful of having meetings at the same time. That there should never be a Build a Block meeting the same time as a community, a CB12 meeting. So they got to change that. They got to change that. I'm actually in 2 meetings right now. So what's that? But you can go on Build a Block. Tonight is the first virtual one. And so my understanding is that they're trying to see how this one goes before they start booking other dates for the other sectors. This is Sector C that's going on right now. Okay, because I thought Officer McLaughlin told me that they were going to be, because I'm, as you can see, I'm in the office right now. So I thought he told me that they were going to be in the board conference room still. What for that one they may. I know that this is like a prototype that they're doing with Sector C, and I don't know if it's going to segue into the other Build a Blocks because it seemed like it did not. So hopefully, if this goes well, they'll switch everything over.
Okay, great. So, are there any other questions? So, thank you again, Mrs. Johnson. Are there any other questions from community members that you would like, or anything that you would like to announce that you have going on? Again, it is *9 if you are on the phone and you would like to address the board. So *9 if you are on the phone. If not, then we can move forward into business session. I see. Okay, all of you have your hand up. So let me, I did not see you. So, Ms. Olive, please unmute yourself and welcome to Community Board 12.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good evening. I'm Olive Alexander, and I did voice this concern a couple of meetings back. The garbage on the road. I'm so disappointed to see how the place is full of garbage.
Okay, and the garbage on the road. So where is the garbage located on the road? So which road are you talking about?
Like especially White Plains Road corridor, the main road. It's always a sore point. It looks really bad.
So all of White Plains Road?
Yeah, along where I commute along, like maybe Gun Hill Road up to maybe 241st. And there's always garbage spewed, and in the side roads too. There's, I guess with the snow it's a bit unavoidable because it's frozen up in the snow, but normally I do see the garbage, and I really feel so badly because I go in other places in New York, and it's cleaner. I do understand that there's an increase in persons in the town area, but it's really, I feel really disappointed when I see all this garbage all over the place.
Okay, so let me take a stab at that. So I think that, you, myself, and our district manager and community associate, we all do not like that. And I think there's a multitude of reasons why that is occurring. One of the things that, we're going to do is, I think, do a better job in our relationship with the Department of Sanitation. I do know that our district manager is in constant conversations with the Department of Sanitation. As you know, I said, I am not as much, but when I do see the inspectors, I do let them know or make them aware of the issues that we have that are going on. So what I invite you to do is, I said, I know that our district manager's because I'm looking at him writing, so he's capturing that information. So if you can repeat that one more time, the location, I thought I heard you say on the White Plains Road corridor between Gunnier Road and 241st Street. So pretty much that
Yeah, but
section of the number 2 line, correct?
yes, but Chair, in general, in the Bronx.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, in the
So
South Bronx,
we can't
along
really tackle the
White
Bronx
Plains.
overall per se, but what we
Yeah,
can do
because
is
I
we can
go in
tackle
other
our.
places. I do
Excuse
go
me.
in other places like Rye, um, and it always breaks my heart when I come back in the Bronx and there's so much garbage and it's continuous. I don't know if anybody has observed that. Anybody else on the line?
Well, I think if so, I think we would address it. I'm going to ask my district manager to come in and address that. But as I said, the one thing we do is we put in regular notices to sanitation. So, that is that is something that we're well of. But I'm going to ask the district manager to address you.
Thank you, Chair.
Well, hello.
Sorry, George.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, the cleanliness of White Plains Road has always been a concern to us at the community board. Our office is on White Plains Road and 229th Street. We're very familiar with all of the complaints. It was so bad that Speaker Hastys, his staff might be on here, funded the Doe Fund, which is a group of men and women who go around and they clean up the streets because it was so dirty. I will say that as a result of the pandemic, we are very aware that there were budget cuts to the Department of Sanitation, and part of those budget cuts also included making one less round of pickups on commercial baskets, garbage pails for garbage cans. They used to be on rotation they used to be picked up on every shift. So you had 3 shifts a day. That's not occurring anymore. It's only occurring twice. And, they've worked very hard to try and mitigate it. But, when I went to the office today, and I made a 311 complaint because there was garbage on both corners of 230th Street and White Plains Road. And there were several garbage bags. And it didn't look like, because obviously White Plains Road is a commercial corridor, the merchants on White Plains Road are required to arrange their own sanitation pickup. This looked like regular people who live in this district bringing their garbage to the corner and throwing their garbage on the street. And, we should know better. This is our community. We should not be littering and we should not be doing this sort of thing. But like I said, I made the complaint this morning. I took a picture of it, and I also sent an email to our superintendent. So if you have any place that has like these illegal dump outs, I will put my phone number and my name and my email address in the chat. Feel free to let me know. Generally speaking, we always encourage everybody, and this is for everybody on the Zoom tonight, on the WebEx tonight, to call 311 and make a complaint. And then if you want, send me that 311. Because that's how we hold the city agencies accountable. To contrast that, Olive, I will say that, and I've always said, if something happens in the middle of Manhattan, because everybody uses Manhattan as an example, there will be 50 million phone calls to 311 to complain about that one issue. The problem in our district is that we don't have that same level of vigilance. And that's why I need people like yourself, whenever you see something like this, to call 311, make the complaint, and then give me the complaint number. Because at the end of the year, we have budget consultations and we look at the numbers, and our numbers in comparison to other community boards in the Bronx alone are low. So, when we justify where there's supposed to be resources, it's hard to say, well, nobody's making a complaint. So that's my only advice. Call 311, make the complaint. Feel free to give it to me. But like I said, I will put my email in the chat, and feel free to email me directly. And I have no problem creating that 301 complaint as well.
Okay, thank you.
We would have to if I unmute myself, right? So yes, the dough fund does come by. Like I said, I see them because, like I said, I walk. When I come here to the board office, I normally walk, and I do see them out. So they are doing that. I think, as I said before, Olive, there's a number of reasons why. So one, well, I'll just say this. So what I ask you to do is encourage you to do is continue to monitor this space, but also monitor the space of some of our committee meetings as well. And so that's one committee that we've got to get back up and running. And so our first vice chair, Mrs. Julia Bennett, is that's in her portfolio. So that's something that we're going to take care of. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Not a problem. All right. Great. Thank you. So I'm looking at one other person that wants to speak, and that is I'm looking right now in the chat. It was somebody from, and I don't have my glasses on, Mr. Riley. So Mr. Joseph Riley stated that he wanted to speak. So Mr. Riley, I'm trying to find you here so that I can unmute you. So up here you go, Mr. Riley. So feel free to address Committee Board 12. Mr. Riley? Mr. Joseph Riley? Okay, Mr. Riley going twice. Mr. Joseph Riley. Okay, so Mr. Riley, you were unmuted. I don't know what's going on, maybe, and I don't see you here, so I don't know if you're having difficulties or not. But if that's the case, we have to move forward. So, is there anybody else from the community before we get into the elected officials? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. We now close the session for the public gallery, the public community speaks. And again, to all the community members, again, thank you very, very much for addressing us. Thank you for bringing your concerns to us. And we will make certain that we will handle those concerns expeditiously. For everybody that's watching, I just want to let you know that we're on channel 67. So we're on BronxNet channel 67 for those members in the community as well as on this call. We're on channel 67. So now, as I said before, it's time for the elected officials portion of our board meeting. And so, as stated before, Senator Schumer is coming in, but I guess he's running a little bit late. So before he does, I would like to open this up to Mrs. Danielowski. Now, I know that I've seen her in here, so let me go ahead and get her queued up so that she can unmute herself and speak on behalf of the council district, the 11th council district. Ms. Danielowski.
Yes, hi, Dr. Burke.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, and good evening to everybody. I just want to remind you guys that we are still running our constituent services as normal, and that we are available. I put all my information in the chat. I'm available over email, and we're still running our office as normal until the special election, which is going to be on March 23rd.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Danielowski. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate the work that you continue to do in Council District 11. And, like I said, we look forward to the new council person whenever that election, the election's taking place next month. So, again,
yes, thank you very much.
Not a problem. You got it. So, we've already heard from Councilman Riley's representative, but if you want to, say anything, because I don't see the councilman on. So, Mr. Anthony, I'm going to unmute you. Is the councilman doing anything that we need to know about?
Yes, tomorrow, Friday the 26th, at 2 o'clock from 2 to 4, we're having a PPE giveaway that is also with Jamal Bailey, Senator Jamal Bailey, and Speaker Carl Hastys tomorrow from 2 to 4 on the corner of Marola Place and Pratt Avenue. We're doing a PPE giveaway that's from 2 to 4. We're also doing on Saturday at 1 p.m. I'll put the link in the description where you can register. We're having a ranked choice voting empowerment training on Saturday at 1 p.m. So if you know anybody that wants to learn about ranked choice voting, you guys can register to do that on Saturday at 1 p.m.
Okay, so thank you. And again, we're going to be having a presentation on that. We have a guest speaker tonight, and we're going to be touching base on that. So if you leave your information in the chat, then we would appreciate it. So thank you very, very much. So next, so the senator is not on yet. We're still waiting on him. So we have our assembly speakers in the house. So we have Assemblyman Denowitz, who is here to bring us greetings from Albany. So Assemblyman Denowitz, how are you doing? And welcome to our meeting this month.
Well, good evening, Dr. Burke, George Torres, board members, and if by Albany you mean my home where I do Albany by Zoom, yes, Albany.
Understood.
I'll just mention a couple of things, and I see my good colleague, Assemblymember Natalia Fernandez, is also here tonight. She represents the district east of mine and I guess south. I don't know if she covers part of Board 12 or not, but if she doesn't, she's right nearby, so she's a neighbor. We are fielding a huge number of questions in our office about vaccines. People who want to get vaccines, it's been very hard for people, either because they can't get an appointment or because the locations aren't always convenient. A number of us, Senator Bailey included, we're working to try to get more sites in the Bronx, but there are a number of places where people have been able to get vaccines, for example, Yankee Stadium, but I know everybody would prefer to do it close to home. North Central Bronx is doing it. I imagine Jacoby and Montefiore might have shots available, but I don't want to tell people what to do, but I would strongly urge you that if you are eligible to get your vaccination against COVID, it's really important, not only for you, but for your family, your friends, your neighbors, and people you don't know. The more people who get vaccinated, the less likely anybody will be able to get the virus. So please, sometimes it is frustrating getting that appointment. It's true, but don't give up. Don't give up. Lives will be saved. One of the things that the Assembly is working on now is a package of legislation concerning nursing homes. As you may have noticed, nursing homes have been in the news lately, and we are trying to fix the laws or improve the laws to make sure nursing homes are safer, that things are more transparent, information is more readily available. And starting next week, the Assembly will be passing a number of important reforms. If people have any interest in that, information that they want, always feel free to contact my office. And as I've always mentioned, my part of the district is Barnes Avenue in East in Wakefield, plus all of Woodlawn. And Assembly Speaker Hastys actually has the majority of Board 12, but we all work very closely together. Assembly Speaker Hastys, myself, Senator Bailey, Councilman Kevin Riley. We will have a new council member soon in the 11th district to replace Andy Cohen. And for those of you who are eligible, that election is on March 23rd, as was mentioned. If anybody has any questions, or if you ever need any information, certainly reach out to my office. We are not open the same hours we were before COVID, but every single phone call we get, every single email, we respond to, and we try to resolve people's issues. So with that, I thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing Senator Schumer.
Thank you, Assemblyman Denowitz. We really appreciate it. And I forgot, not that we don't love you, Assemblyman Denowitz, but I forgot to actually start with our guest, which is Assemblywoman Fernandez. So I apologize, and I hope that she doesn't mind. So I would like to welcome you to Community Board 12, Assemblywoman. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's okay. Ladies first all the time. So to have my delegation leader lead the conversation tonight is no problem. But thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting to see so many faces here, familiar ones. But I am Assemblywoman Natalia Fernandez, representing the 80th Assembly District, the greatest 80th, as I like to say. I cover the neighborhoods of Morris Park, Pelham Parkway, Allerton, and I'm coming towards CB12, Pelham Gardens, Marshall Parkway, and Norwood. So yes, I wanted to kind of continue the conversation with Assemblyman Denowitz started about the legislation that we're pushing next week. Very, very important legislation to reform our nursing homes. We know the stories, the scandal that has been, but it's been something that unfortunately I think has compounded to this point that we don't have safe staffing. That's something that I'm very excited to see finally done in the assembly for not only nursing homes, but our hospitals, to make sure that nurses and patients are supported by the proper amount of nurses and the health officials inside. But we've also done some great things prior to this week coming up early on this session, and I'm sure it's been said, but we passed automatic voter registration. So that's really important to know that anytime you do complete an application from a state agency, DMV, whatever, you will be automatically registered to vote. And that's important because too many times people find out, late in the game that there's an election coming up and you're not registered. No more. We need to make it simple, easier, more direct for people to get to the polls when they know who they want to vote for. But that's another thing to know, that this year ranked choice voting is in play. It wasn't in effect when Councilman Riley first ran in December, but now it's in effect for all city elections. So for the specials coming up for the 11th, for the primary June 22nd, understand that it is ranked choice voting, and you now have the opportunity to split your vote, so to say. So giving more value to your individual vote. It won't be anymore that one vote goes to one person and then, that's it. But now you can rank your vote. So instead of saying vote for me, rank me. I hope you can put me as number 1. And if you like that person's platform, you can put them as number 2. The other one, number 3. The algorithm then formulates to pick the winner if there is nobody that has over 50% of the vote. So very important to understand. We're still trying to get the word out. I encourage the forum that Councilman Riley is holding. Please attend. Please share the information, because still not enough people know that ranked choice voting is in effect, almost as much as people don't know that there is an election this year. So we got to make sure that we're aware of that. Vaccines, as Assemblyman Dinwiddie said, is priority right now. The Bronx, unfortunately, still, I think, is lacking in getting proper amounts of vaccine distribution sites. As soon as the vaccines were available, I was one of the first ones to put a list out for the governor and the mayor to say, here's locations. I used to work for the governor. I used to be the Bronx representative of Cuomo. So I know of the big spaces we have here, because when he wanted to visit, he needed that big arena where we could all get together to hear those messages. But one of my proposals for the North Bronx, because we do have Yankee Stadium in the South Bronx, but the North Bronx needs a mass vaccine site. My idea, if not Co-op City, Eastwood Manor, our catering halls. They're big, spacious. They got parking. They have the amenities for controlled temperature rooms and everything in relation to proper vaccine storage. But we really need to utilize the spaces we have here and demand that equity of getting vaccines, because we are the borough that's hurting more. Unfortunately, we've always been the borough that's been hurting more. And I don't want to see that anymore. So as we're getting out of this fight, we will continue to advocate, speak our voices, share your voices to those with us and above us, Mr. Mayor and Governor, and make sure that they know that we need the help. One other thing I'm excited about is the e-scooter program. I'm sure it's been shared here recently. I don't know if this is the first meeting since the program has been announced, but the whole East Bronx, starting from my area, Morris Park, going up to Allerton, Pelham Parkway, Allerton, then Wakefield to Co-op City, and Williamsbridge. We're going to have a pilot program starting this summer for e-scooters. So e-scooters, we legalized that in the state last year. It is now law. And we are excited to have new options. At least I'm excited, because the scooters are fun, but please use them safely. Go in the bike lanes that are being put everywhere in the Bronx. We need to now make sure that every community is equipped with bike lanes, so the usage of these scooters are safe. But it's a great alternative to get from A to B, A to Z, in a way that, again, is fun. It's good for the environment. They're electrical scooters. And just make sure that, you wear protective gear, knee pads, helmet, everything. Lastly, I don't think I have any other updates, but again, I'm very excited to continue the work in the Assembly. I encourage you to see who your candidates are in the 2021 primaries coming up. And please keep in touch. I'm not too far away. I do have a few blocks of CB12 in my district, so the concern isn't lost on me in any which way. I'm available to all concerns and happy to help in every way I can. So thank you so much for having me. Oh, are you muted? I don't hear you. Mr. Michael, I think you're muted.
I'm sorry, I'm here in the office, and so I'm trying to mute myself because all the train noise that is going back and forth. So, again, I don't want that to be a distraction. So my apologies, but you're more than welcome to come to Community Board 12 at any time. We appreciate you being here. And if there's anything that myself, our district manager, anybody can do for you, or Ms. Ursula Green, then just let us know, okay?
Absolutely. Look forward to keeping in touch, and keep up the good work.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. So next I see Mr. Alexandre Went, and now you still with the speaker's office, right, Mr. Went? Okay, great. So I'm trying to wait till the train comes by, but you are feel free to unmute yourself, sir, and bring us greetings from our speaker, Carl Hastys.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? If you can, just give like a nod, thumbs up. All right, awesome. Now it's Win. I'm the Community Relations Director from Speaker Hastys' office. Just want to give a few updates for the month of March. We have a lot of programs and initiatives that will be coming out of the office. I know that one of the main ones will be we're partnering with the Salvation Army, and we're actually asking for donations, clothing, new or lightly used, which will be used in turn for the Salvation Army, which they'll translate into funds, which will fund different programs and different initiatives, one of which is a mental health aspect. Another event that we have coming up in March, we're working with the Red Cross to do an online platform to get everyone CPR certified. And off the top of my head, I know that we're also working with Citizens Committee to do our yearly grant session. So the economy has taken a hit due to this pandemic. And I know that a lot of small business within our district, in our area, have suffered. So all of these programs, all of these flyers, I actually am going to pass them on to the community board in time, and they will at some point circulate it throughout the residents and the constituents. My contact information is in the chat. I don't want to take up too much time just in case Senator Schumer comes on the line. But again, I'm happy to see you all. Every time we have a meeting, it seems like the numbers are growing. So definitely happy to see that. And I'm always here for you. If anything you need, our phone number is in the chat. And I make myself available weekends, weekdays, all of that. Thank you, Dr. Bird. You're still muted.
Thank you. And again, as I said before, because the trains are coming by, so thank you so much. And please give the speaker our regards. And like I said, we wish him and all of our elected officials well. So thank you again. Senator Biaggi, welcome, Senator Biaggi. How are you doing?
Hi.
Can you hear me, Senator? How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for asking. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
We're fantastic, Senator Biaggi. We look forward to hearing from you.
Amazing. Okay, great. So I heard a lot of what Assemblymember Fernandez just said, so I'm not going to repeat what she talked about with regard to the vaccines, but I do want to say that I ditto to all of that in the sense that there has just been a real lack of coordination from our executive branch to our legislative branch, which doesn't allow for us to just do our jobs. And so we continue to request information or not only vaccine sites that are permanent, but also that are mobile, because upstate in the Mohawk Valley, they are actually doing vaccinations on wheels essentially. And the way that they do it is they have the provider partner with the hospital. And so if they can do it in the Mohawk Valley, I think they could do it in the Bronx, but we will see, because I think it's very important that we prioritize the Bronx, since the Bronx has been the hardest hit place in the entire country. So that is number one. I want just to talk about in terms of, there's so many things to talk about. How many minutes do I have?
Senator, again, forgive me, I'm muted. Senator Schumer's running late. We just heard from his communications director,
Great.
So take whatever time you need.
Amazing. Okay,
He
great.
needs to hear from you.
Okay, that's amazing. So then let's just get a little bit more into the vaccines. So every Friday, what we're doing, and we will continue to do this also on a regular basis, but Fridays we are specifically focused on seniors and the elderly. And so on Fridays, what we're doing is we're making wellness calls, but also vaccination calls to make sure that, number one, people understand what the information is, and number two, if they need help making vaccination appointments, that we can do it for them. We've been able to do that. So we want to make sure that if that is something that you all need, or if there are other individuals not present or in your lives or in other community groups, that you also just spread that word, because despite the fact that, of course, a lot of this information is online, we know that there is still a real disconnect in terms of not only resources when it comes to computers, but also just the awareness or the ability to use online services, especially if you're older. So we want to be able to bridge that gap. That's number one. We're also working with NIDC to see how we can get some of the seniors in the district vaccinated. Today, there was a pop-up site that was in the last moment shared with us from the governor's office, was at NYCHA and Middletown, obviously, right? That's just one location. It was only for seniors. But the point being that we can make those kinds of things happen if we have very specific places that we can ask them to come. So I would my ask of you is to please identify that for us in the chat before we leave tonight, if you can. And we will make that request, not only of the state, but also of the city. Okay, in addition to vaccines, I want to talk about some of the bills that the Senate passed with regard to nursing homes. We can get into what has been going on with nursing homes. I'm happy to answer any of the questions that anybody has. I have been very vocal about what I believe to be a lot of misconduct and failure to be transparent from the executive branch of our government when it comes to reporting nursing home deaths. And behind the scenes, there's also a lot of things that can be done better when it comes to nursing home reforms. And so in this past week in the Senate, we passed a whole series of bills, which I'm going to share with you and also make sure that we put them into the chat as well, in case those are something that you care about and want more information about. And so from just the top here, we passed something called the Publication of Nursing Home Ratings Act. And so what that means is that just like when you go to a restaurant and you see the letter A, what we are intending to do here is to have nursing homes be rated and have that rating be prominently displayed on the homepage of the Department of Health's website. Why? Because when you are trying to seek a nursing home for one of your loved ones, or if you are seeking a nursing home for yourself or a neighbor or someone else, you should know, we should all know, frankly, what that rating is given to that nursing home, because if the rating is not good, you probably don't want to go there or send your loved one there. So that's number one. We also passed a bill that would require nursing homes to use 70% of their revenue on direct patient care. That is critical because it is not equal across the board, meaning that you could find some nursing homes where they don't spend 70% of their revenue on care, but perhaps they spend 40 or 50%, which is not enough because we know that the needs in nursing homes are incredibly high, especially right now. We also created a task force to really think about long-term care, because there is a lot to decide around long-term care, even though I will just say as a plug on the side, the New York Health Act, which essentially is Medicare for all in New York State, does include long-term care. And so that is also why we need to pass the New York Health Act, but we haven't done that yet. So in the interim, we've created a task force to just understand long-term care and to do the best that we can with that. We have also done something that I think is really important, and probably something that many of you have either heard or have experienced yourself, which is that we need to create a policy for visiting nursing homes. Why? Because so many people have not been able to see their loved ones, and the seniors who are in our nursing homes also are having a serious cognitive decline and also a serious issue when it comes to mental health. And so we know that it's not just seniors, but when it comes to seniors, the point is we have to make it very clear what the guidelines are to allow people to visit their loved ones. And so there are regulations that we created in this bill that would allow for that. We've also created a bill that would allow for something called an infection inspection audit. This essentially would mean that there would be a checklist that one of the nursing homes would have, where they can say, okay, do I meet all of the guidelines for infection control inspection, which you would think already would exist, but it doesn't exist. There's also something that we've created similar to infection inspection audits, which are considered quality assurance committees. Essentially, what this is intended to do is to create quality assurance plans. In addition to that, we also created requirements for transferring, discharging, or voluntary discharge from a nursing home. Why? Because one of the things that I heard, and many of the people that I work with have heard on a regular basis, is that their loved one was either sent from the nursing home to a hospital or discharged from the hospital to the nursing home or otherwise, and that a family member was not told. And that is just outrageous. And also, frankly, it's very scary to not know where your loved one is, especially in a moment like the one that we're in right now. I'm almost done. There's only a few left. We also passed a bill to establish the standards for ownership of nursing homes. What does that mean? It means this, okay? There is really a lack of transparency when it comes to ownership of nursing homes. And so right now, if somebody is an owner of a nursing home, but let's say that that person gets shut down because of really egregious behavior or really bad violations, that person can potentially open another nursing home, and those violations don't follow them. Well, that's obviously ridiculous, because what if they start another nursing home and they continue to have the same kind of behavior? So the point is to just have transparency and ownership. And I think that that is also goes to what we were talking about above, which is with regard to the ratings and the publication of ratings in nursing homes. Two more, the Department of Health records is a bill that we passed that would allow for the records to be clear. So what does that mean? It means that residents that died in hospitals are being required to be recorded as a nursing home death if they are a nursing home resident. That just seems very much in line with what makes sense. So we passed a bill to make sure that that is something that is followed, not just suggested. And then finally, also, we passed a bill for the transparency of violations. And this is because we believe that nursing homes should disclose in writing to potential residents and also to their family members, the website where a list of violations and other actions that have been taken against the facility can be found. There are a lot more measures that we can take. And yesterday when I was in CB11, what I mentioned, because a lot of the people who were present either had a loved one who was in a nursing home, a loved one who died, what was shared with me was actually really neat, which was that there was additional ideas that people had. And so what it's kind of gotten me to think about is to have not just a meeting one-on-one or two-on-one, but to maybe have a roundtable so we can talk a little bit more about the people who either have experienced this directly, whether you work there, you have a loved one there, or you've been there, to figure out what else we can do, because I know the list I just gave you is not comprehensive and it's not going to solve every problem. So let's just get serious about that for a minute. So I want to just be clear about that piece of it. The last thing that I'm going to say, even though I have so much more, is that because, of course, it is Black History Month, my office will be honoring Black-owned businesses in the Bronx. And so you will see us probably going around, making sure that we just really are uplifting and also just honoring the businesses that are owned by people of color in our community. So anyway, I have more to say, but I'm not going to keep going because it's too much, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And also I will put my information into the chat so that if you do have questions and we don't get to them today, you can email me or you can DM me on social media, whatever you prefer. And I'll make sure that I get them too.
So Senator Biaggi, there are quite a few issues that you brought to us, and thank you. There are quite a few questions in the chat. Hang on for a second.
Oh my! I can see some. Would you like me to just go into the chat?
I was trying to be cognizant of the train that was going by, so I didn't want that to be picked up. So there's quite a few questions in the chat. So if you could please just stand by, because we're still waiting on Senator Schumer. As I said, his office just let us know he's running a little bit behind. So we can just continue on because we still have several elected officials to go until he comes on. I think that we all want to hear what the senator has. And as I said before, I know that, I sent out some questions to him, and he is here to answer. He's here to tell us what's going on in Washington, as well as answer some of our questions. So I just want to, make you aware of that. So,
Michael, may I say one more thing?
Sure.
So it's budget season right now. So what does that mean? I'm sure everybody knows that we have a very massive deficit in the state because of COVID, but still, if there are budget priorities or if there are things that are important to the community, I want to know about them. I've already sent in my budget letters, but it doesn't matter. The point is I want to know, and what's the mechanism to get that to me on Friday, which is tomorrow, I believe. We're having every day is the same, but tomorrow we're having a budget forum, and you can either submit testimony online, or you can show up and you can share testimony in a virtual setting, of course, about some of the needs in the community that you think are necessary, and we can include that in my budget priorities for the year. Okay, that's it. I think that you're muted.
Okay, I'm still muted. But again, thank you, Senator Biaggi, for gracing us with your presence. And you did bring us so much information that, as I said, the good thing is, A, you have a lot of questions in the chat. But more importantly, B, is that, of course, we're being recorded. So if anything is missed by myself or anybody here, of course, we can go to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and I think there's one other social media platform that George has for us as well. So, all right, so the senator is here. So I was going to go to Miss Marielle de la Cruz, but Senator Schumer is here. So let me try to work on the logistics of that. And let me see if I can find him, and we can go forward. So we're looking for Senator Charles Schumer, the Majority Leader of the United States Senate. So bear with me while we try to type him in. Okay. So anyway, while we're doing that, what I'm going to do is while I'm working on the logistics, so the senator is here. What we're going to do is let's hear from Ms. Marielle de la Cruz, and hopefully the senator will be the next voice that you hear outside of mine and hers. So Marielle.
Hi everyone. My name is I like when people wave back, so you know. But my name is Marielle de la Cruz. I am the Bronx Borough Director for New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer. I covered this board quite some time ago. You all had Victor for a little while. He moved on to work with Congressman Torres, but I'm here just to say a few words because I know the senator is a lot more interesting than I will be. But just quickly, the New York City Comptroller has a summer internship program. I put the information on the chat. It is for people in undergraduate and graduate school, young and a little more mature, and it is paid. So I know some of us cannot afford to do free internships, and I know I was one of those people when I was in college. So if folks are interested in learning about how city government works, that is an amazing opportunity, and I know that we'll have someone in public affairs with us. And then secondly, to keep it brief, so we can move on to what's going on in Washington, is that the comptroller released a plan for public safety. And it is, again, just to make sure that we see public safety in a different lens. And instead of it just being punitive, how we can work as a community. So ideas of shifting money to services that support cure violence groups, having social workers and counselors in schools, but also to trying to navigate the idea of public safety when it comes to mental health and what kind of services we can provide to prevent incidents from occurring. So I wanted to keep it very brief. Like I said, I am the Borough Director of the Bronx for Comptroller Stringer, and I want to make sure that people continue to invite me to your events, because if I'm not invited, that means I cannot attend. So feel free to copy my information from the chat. And thank you so much for having me here today. I'm glad to be back here. And thank you to everyone that attended our Black History Month event, in which we honored some folks that live and or work within Community Board 12. We had a few great folks, and the gentleman that was the inspiration of the movie Soul Speak. It was a great time, and thank you for all of your work. Thank you, Ursula and George, for all of the help that you give me when I call you 20 times a week. But thank you so much, and have a beautiful night.
Go ahead. We're having some technical difficulties back in the office. Is that everything you have for us, Marielle? All right, cool. I think the floor is yours, Senator Schumer, if you like. You can unmute yourself. Did you get it? Did you straighten it out?
There we go. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, sir.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for giving me a little time to meet with your great Community Board 12. I want to thank Dr. Burke, our chair, and George Torres, our district manager. I love community boards. I try to talk to everyone in New York City every so often, so I'm glad to be talking to all of you. And you know, I started out as a community person. I was a tenant organizer at the opposite end of New York City in southern Brooklyn. And I know all about community boards. I've been very involved, and I want to thank you. Board 12 is a great board. It represents some very beautiful neighborhoods. I used to ride my bike from southern Brooklyn all the way up to you to go to the Little League field in Woodlawn, and so I know the area pretty well. You know, I used to ride up there, stop, chat with people. I'm not a spandex guy. I don't go at 40 miles an hour. But I want to thank all of the you community folks. You care about your neighborhoods. You don't get paid to do this, and I know how it is. When things go wrong, you hear from 100 people. When things go right, no one comes over and says thank you. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for the great job you're doing. This is a board that is like the future of New York and the future of America. People striving to get to the middle class, people in the middle class struggling to stay there, everyone wanting to make a better life for themselves, their families, their children. And you're helping make that happen. And so I thank you for that. What I thought I'd do, Mr. Chairman or Mr. District Manager, I'll speak for about 10 minutes and then we'll spend the rest of the time on questions. Is that okay? But first, I thought I'd tell you about my January 6th. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. That was the first sentence in Charles Dickens' book, A Tale of Two Cities. Why was it the best of times? Well, January 5th was the elections for the two senators from Georgia. And I stayed up late Tuesday night bled into Wednesday morning. It's 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I'm punching in the computer, looking at each little number. Finally, at 4 a.m., they say our two Democratic Senate candidates in Georgia have won, and I would achieve my dream of becoming the majority leader of the United States Senate. So my first reaction, thank you, yes, my first reaction was joy. Every one of you, I'm sure, has had some big thing you wanted to get done, whether it's personal or family or, you know, some achievement you worked for and there were logs in your path and you had to do detours, but you got there. So the joy was amazing. But what surprised me is within a few minutes, I had another emotion. How would I describe it? Awe. What do I mean by awe? Not awe like awesome. You know, my teenage daughters used to say, Dad, your shoes are awesome. But rather awe in the biblical sense. When the angels saw the face of God, they trembled in awe. And it hit me what a huge responsibility had been placed on my shoulders and that of my Democratic caucus. The COVID crisis, the problems in America, economic and racial inequality, climate, you name it. So many problems that our country faces. And we now had the responsibility to improve things after 4 years of having the worst president in the United States. So these two emotions commingled in my veins. I went to bed at 4:30. I couldn't sleep much. Woke up at 7, got in the car, drove down to DC. I get on the floor of the Senate, now very still joyful and struck by the responsibility. And I get on the floor of the Senate at 1 p.m., first time as putative majority leader. I'm on the floor no more than 45 minutes. I hadn't even given a speech when a big police officer with a bulletproof vest and a submachine gun strapped across his waist grabs me firmly by the collar like this. I'll never forget that feeling, ever. Says, Senator, you're in danger. We got to get out of here. And if you watched, you may have seen on TV, they showed a clip of this. I didn't realize it till I saw it on TV. But we went out the door, made a right. I'm walking briskly with the police. And then 2 seconds later, I come back in the door running. I was within 15 feet of these. Am I allowed to curse? I'm from Brooklyn. I know you're from the Bronx. It's 15 feet of these bastards. These white, racist, insurrectionist, selfish, egotistical, horrible bastards. And you know what? If one of them had a gun, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you. So it was the best of times, worst of times. And I'll never forget it. We're going after every one of the people in that building. Throw the book at them, both because they deserve it and it'll be an example for others who might try to do it again. And I'm so glad we impeached and tried Donald Trump. We didn't convict him. We didn't get enough Republicans. But the whole world saw what a horrible man he was. And I think it'll hurt him. Now, 2020. 2020 was a horrible year. I like these literary things. Queen Elizabeth, she gave an address to her British subjects every year right before Christmas. She gives an address. In one year, she called it Annus Horribilis. Horrible year. Why? That was the year Princess Diana and Prince Charles were fighting all the time. Well, this year was our Annus Horribilis. 3 horrible things. The worst health crisis in 100 years. Every one of us knows people who have died. It's particularly afflicted people of color, but it's a horrible, horrible thing. Just 2 days ago, I heard another friend of mine, about 62, perfectly healthy, no pre-existing conditions, got COVID a week ago and is dead, gone. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Then we had the worst economic crisis we've had in 75 years. Millions out of work. Millions losing their apartments or homes. People can't feed themselves. All of that. Small businesses, like the little small businesses in Wakefield and Woodlawn, going under. And even the inconvenience. We can't get together. Kids can't start school, can't learn. You have your kids at home. How are you going to go to work? And then the third crisis, the racial scars of America were ripped wide open by the horrible murders of Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, showing us how long we have to go, long distance, till we get some kind of racial decency here in America. So a horrible year, but God works in mysterious ways. 3 good endings in the year. First, we got rid of Trump. Goodbye. Go to Florida. We don't need you. Go, never come back to New York. Second, we got the vaccine. This is a miracle of modern science. It really is effective, and it's a really strong vaccine. And it's good. I know communities of color often feel they don't want to take the vaccine because in the past, Black and brown people have been used as guinea pigs. But this one's on the up and up. My parents are 97 and 92. You know, I come from a poor background. My dad was an exterminator. By the way, he's funny now. He says, I'm 97. I'm an exterminator. I was an exterminator. How bad could DDT have been? That's what he says. Anyway, they took the vaccine. They were just fine. They're just fine. So I'd recommend it. But in the new bill we're doing, we are going to, the federal government is going to provide a vaccine to everyone for free. The federal government is going to set up 100 centers across New York and all across the country, hundreds more. And first place will be communities like ours, communities of color, poorer communities. So they get the vaccine first. You get the vaccine first, not last. And there'll be very few conditions. You line up, you get it. Right now, you line up, oh, you say you have a thyroid condition, that's not pre-existing. Or, oh, you're 64, you got to wait till you're 65. They expect, ladies and gentlemen, that by late summer, midsummer, maybe, God willing, even early summer, enough people will have the vaccine, they've ramped up production, that we can get back to normal. Praise God. The third thing we're doing is and that's in this new bill, but the third good thing that happened is we were able to pass some legislation for the first time that really will benefit average folks. So I'm going to talk about what's in the legislation that we passed, as well as what's coming up in this new bill, which is going to pass. First, everyone's getting checks. A lot of people got $600. We wanted $2,000, but the Republicans wanted none. So in December, McConnell was still in charge. Trump was still in charge. We only got $600. But once we pass this bill, everyone will get another check of $1,400. And if that's per person, a couple gets $2,800, a family of 4 gets $5,600. That's money in people's pockets that can really help them in the crisis. We've extended unemployment insurance back to September. Very, very important to help people. We've gotten $25 billion in rent relief. New York, every time we do these bills, I use my clout to help New York. I'm a New Yorker through and through, you know that. And we write the formula so we do well. So of the $25 billion, New York gets the most of any state. We get about $2.5 billion that's going to the legislature, but can only be used to keep people in their apartments. You know, you can have an eviction moratorium, but if people can't pay the rent, once it's over, they're really screwed. So here they'll have money to pay the rent or the mortgage. And if you're a small landlord, you've got a lot of small landlords in your district, in your community board, and the tenant doesn't want to pay. How is a landlord of he's got a tenant in himself, he needs the rent. He can apply for it, or she. So that's a good thing. We got money, listen to these two. We got money for the MTA, $8 billion so far, another $6 billion coming, so they won't cut back on bus routes. They won't cut back on employees. It'll keep going. I got about $180 billion for hospitals. A large number of people in your community board work in hospitals. They were going to be laid off or even the hospitals closed. We got them enough money to stay open, and they're doing okay. Here are 2 things people don't know. You can spread the word. We got rid of the ban on Pell Grants for people who are incarcerated. A lot of young men and women, you know, they could have a small amount of marijuana in their pockets. They go to jail because the federal laws are so crappy. It's a long period of time. They want to make themselves better, but they have no money. Now Pell Grants will pay for them to take courses so they can learn a trade and when they get out of prison have a good life. And here's another thing we put in the bill. Funerals, you know, to help pay for funerals and burial. One of the things that breaks my heart. You see grandkids and kids on Zoom or behind the window at a hospital saying goodbye to grandma and grandpa, saying goodbye to mom and dad because they have COVID. They can't hug them, they can't kiss them, they can't touch them in a final goodbye. That makes you cry. It makes you feel bad. But even worse, or adding insult to industry, these poor people, they don't have a job. They can't give the loved one a burial or a funeral. $7,000 for each person who needs to bury someone who's lost the job or doesn't have the money because of COVID. And we're working on getting the word out to funeral homes. Mr. Torres, I will get you information on all this and you can spread it to the board if that's okay, because people should know these things and a lot of it's not known. Then we got money for small business and we got money for CDFIs and MDIs. A lot of our minority businesses and our smaller businesses aren't getting this PPP money because the big boys, you know, crowded them out. But now we've gotten money for something called Community Development Financial Institutions and Minority Development Institutions, that their job is to get small businesses owned by minorities and whites, the money. And all you got to do is call one of these places up, they'll process your application and you can get it. So I'll get you the names of these different CDFIs and MDIs, and please spread the word to the businesses. It not only applies to businesses, it applies to nonprofits. I made that happen. And here's something else people may not know. It applies to churches. Our churches are hurting. No collection plate, no money. And we need our churches. They do a lot of the social services. I met with Franklin Richardson of the Mount Vernon, of Grace Baptist in Mount Vernon, that's right north of your border in Westchester, the head of the AME churches and Reverend Sharpton, and they said our churches, our minority churches are hurting. The bishop came to me and said, the cardinal, and said our Catholic churches are hurting. They can all apply and get money to pay pastors' salary. Mosques can apply, anybody, synagogue, to pay the salaries of the pastor, rent, and things like that. Churches don't know this, but they can apply. Please spread the word to the members of your board on that. And we got some money for childcare, etc. So this is all very, very good, and it's money coming directly to your community as opposed to going through a middleman, because we make sure you can apply directly for all of this, and I'll get you that information. A couple more things. We're also trying to get money for the state and local governments. If you work for the city or state, I'm sure you're worried about being laid off. They have budget problems. If this bill passes, there'll be enough money to make up both New York City and New York State's deficit. So they won't have to lay off anybody. State jobs, government jobs are a ladder up for so many people, so many immigrants, so many people of color. So that's a good thing too. Okay. Here are a few more things I'd like to interest you in, and then I'll shut up. One of the biggest burdens our young people have is debt from college. Elizabeth Warren and I have found out that Joe Biden, the president, with a flick of the pen, he doesn't need legislation, doesn't have to go through Congress, can forgive $50,000 of student debt like that. This particularly affects young people in boards like your board. A lot of younger people's families didn't go to college. They were duped into these for-profit or other colleges to take a lot of loans. And then these colleges didn't even give them a good degree, so they can't earn a salary. 40% of the student loans that are in trouble are people of color. It's a racial justice issue as well as an economic issue. We're trying to get 10 million signatures, email, letter, call to Joe Biden, saying, sign this, get rid of that student debt. Get rid of that student debt. And if you're a parent who took on the debt for your kids, applies to you too. So this is a very great thing to do, and I hope you will join up with that. I'll get you information. Another thing I'm trying to do, this is down the road, this is not going to happen immediately, is something called the Economic Justice Act. Put 400, now that we're in charge, we got to do things. We put $450 billion into inner city and minority communities. It's a lot of money. $50 billion for childcare. We wire every home with broadband. Every single home gets internet, fast internet service. And guess what? The people who, and we get a ton of infrastructure. We rebuild public housing, we rebuild our schools, we rebuild our roads, and 40% of the 10 million new jobs created by this infrastructure have to go to people who don't have jobs, who just got out of prison, who have minimum wage jobs. Once you get a good construction job, that's a good paying job. You're on the road. So we would create a load of these new jobs and make sure they go to people who have been excluded before. Also in our bill is money to keep the schools open at night. I went to James Madison High School in southern Brooklyn. As I said, my father was an exterminator. I had nowhere to go. I was hanging out on the streets. But the Madison High School was open. I played basketball every night, very constructive. It was supervised. We had a basketball team at Madison. We weren't good. You know what our motto was? We may be small, but we're slow. But I had fun, even though I'm not going to be in the NBA ever. We want money to open every school. Every school. You know, maybe not elementary, but junior high, high school, so the kids have somewhere to go. That's in this Economic Justice Act as well. And a few more things we're trying to do. I want to decriminalize marijuana and expunge the records so nobody loses a job or whatever. And we'll take the tax on marijuana and give it to new minority businesses that upstart. This is all part of this Economic Justice Act. So I'll send that to you. It's a great thing. It's going to take a while to get done, but it will really transform us. That's basically it. And Mr. Torres, are you running the show? I'm ready for your questions.
Well,
who's on from my staff? Is it Julieta Lopez? Or is it Steve Alika?
We received notice, and hi, this is Dr. Burke, Senator.
Oh, Dr. Burke. I didn't see your picture. Where are you?
I am right here. I don't know if you can see me, but I don't know where I am.
I see you. You're back. Here's Julieta Lopez from my staff.
Okay. I see. Okay.
She will give you a phone number, her email, anything you need help with in the board that's federal. As they say in Brooklyn, I don't know if you say this in the Bronx, I'm your humble servant.
Well, thank you, Senator Schumer. And first of all, I apologize for not being here earlier. Something was going on here in the office that needed to be taken care of. So that took me away. But on behalf of the staff, on behalf of the residents of Community Board 12, we welcome you to our meeting. If you don't mind, before we get into the questions, I'd like to take a point of personal privilege.
Sure.
Ask you to greet my good friend, Raphael Warnock, when you see him tomorrow. Tell him I spoke with Mike Burke. So, yeah, I know Ray and I grew up across the street from each other when we were 9 to 10 years old.
Columbus, Georgia?
No, I'm from Savannah. We're from Savannah.
Savannah, Georgia, right.
Yeah, we're from Savannah, right. So, if you see Ray, just tell him that, Mike Burke said hi, and he should know who I am. So.
Well, I want to tell you a story, okay? So I wanted to win the seat in Georgia, and I thought we ought to have the first person of color run, and we could win, even though the conventional wisdom was you couldn't. Who did I recruit? Not Raphael Warnock. I didn't know who he was. Mm-hmm. Stacey Abrams. She said, I don't want to run. She said, there's only one person better than me. I said, who could that be? She said, Raphael Warnock. If you don't know him, folks, he's the pastor of the Ebenezer Baptist Church, which is Martin Luther King's old pulpit. It's probably the most famous pulpit in America. He's a brilliant man, a great speaker, really wonderful. And guess what? He lived 2 years in New York. Did you know that, Michael?
Yes. In fact, he was a pastor at
Abyssinian Baptist Church under Dr. Butts.
Yes, sir.
So I met the guy. It took me 4 months, Michael, to convince him to run. 4 months. I said, you're going to win. I don't know if I can win. You're going to win. Here we are. I just saw him today.
Well, Senator, I can say that, Ray is a very humble man, as I try to be. We try to lead because we want to lead. And, we just are glad, in his case, people of my home state, in my case, people of the community board, for choosing us to lead them, because we all want to do the right thing. I know he does, and so do I. And the fact that you are here, taking time out of your schedule to speak with us, says a lot about what we're doing with our district manager, George Torres, our community associate, Ursula Green, and the people on this board. I cannot do it without the committee chairs and everything. So anything that we can do to help you, Senator, is fantastic. And, to your point, if you don't mind, I like to start off the questions, and then I know our district manager has a question. I see where Mr. Hall, our housing chair, had a question, and I see where Clinton Mike had a question. So we'll just start. Is that okay with you, Senator?
Yes, so I only have about 10 more minutes because I was
Okay,
a little
so
late.
I'll ask one question and then we'll just go in a round robin. So I will pick a question. And so the question that I'm going to pick is in regards to the voting rights legislation. So,
Yes.
you know, Senator Schumer, as you know, the House passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Act in the last Congress. And as you all know, this was a panacea to Section 5 of the 65 Voting Rights Act, which was struck down by the Supreme Court.
Yep.
So my question is, now that you are the majority leader, can you inform us as to when can we expect to see that legislation on the Senate
Yes.
floor?
Yes, it's one of the most important things. It's the Voting Rights Act was the thing that stopped bigotry. And John Roberts, who everyone says, oh, he calls balls and strikes, bull. This guy's a right winger. And when he threw out the teeth of the Voting Rights Act in a famous decision, Shelby County versus somebody, he said there's no more bigotry. So we don't have to worry about, you know, people and preventing people of color from voting. Within 1 year, 19 states passed laws to stop people of color from voting. And let me tell you one law they passed in Alabama. You want to vote by absentee? You had to have a notary come to your house. What poor person is going to go vote to pay for a notary to come to their house to sign the thing? So we have to repeal this. It's now called the John Lewis Act, named after the great civil rights leader, who, by the way, was a member of Warnock's church, the Ebenezer Baptist. And the House has an easier time because they just need a majority. Now, we have 50. Kamala Harris, our new vice president, will be 51. But we are going to put that bill on the floor of the Senate. And if the Republicans block it, we're going to figure out how we can get that passed. We have to get it passed. The bill is part of something called, in the House, it was called H.R. 1. And because I felt it was so important, that was the first bill introduced, I made this S1. We have to get this passed. And it has other things in it, by the way. You know what else is in that bill? D.C. statehood. We'll have 2 new senators. That'll be pretty good. Automatic voter registration, so you don't have to go through all the rigmarole and you can vote the day you show up. Getting rid of all that hardcore, hard right money, dark money. It's democracy at work, and it's the most important thing we can pass. Once we get through these COVID bills, that's what we're going to turn to.
So thank you, Senator Schumer. And so our district manager is so nice and gracious. He's given up his turn. So I'm going to go directly to board members. So I'm going to go to Mr. Hall first. So Mr. Hall, if you would unmute yourself, please. Mr. Hall. Press the space bar. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, Senator, while Mr. Hall is trying to figure it out, I'm going to go to someone else. I'm going to go to Mr. Clinton Mike. I think that Clinton, I'm trying to find, there he is. So Clinton had a question. So Clinton, if you would unmute yourself, and then we'll go back to Mr. Hall and ask the Senator a question.
Hi, Clinton. He's mute too.
No, he's ready.
Okay. I'm here. I'm listening. He's on mute.
Clinton, we can't hear you. Okay, you put it in the chat. Okay, so Clinton said his question is in the chat, so which it is. So let me read his question. So Clinton says, Senator Schumer, why did the Senate parliamentarian rule this evening that the $15 minimum wage cannot be included in the COVID relief bill?
Yes, this is why I was late on the phone. I got this very bad news. I am all for a $15 minimum wage. As you know, we have it in New York State.
Yes.
We have it in about 15 states, but we need it across the country. The parliamentarian, here is the thing. The Senate has this process where we need 60 votes to get anything done unless one of 2 things happen. We change the rules and block the filibuster, which is something that will be on the table, but we're not there yet. I don't have enough members ready. But the second thing is called reconciliation, and that allows you to do things with 51 votes if it's money. So it has to be money related. All those things I mentioned that I did for New York came through reconciliation because they were all money things. So we were hoping that they would rule that the minimum wage is a money thing. It's going to bring more money in, take more money out, doesn't matter. and she ruled against it, and it shocked us. So Bernie Sanders and I, who are the two people pushing this, are now going to try to figure out another way to get this done. And that's why I was late getting on Zoom, and that's why I'll try. It was very bad, but the parliamentarian is not, she is it's like a judge or a referee, and she relies on precedents. We made the argument before, or the Republicans made the argument against her, but we lost, and this was a shock to me, and I'm very upset about it. But we will get $15 minimum wage one way or another.
Okay, thank you, Senator Schumer. Mr. Hall told me to read his question, but I can't find it. I'm looking in the chat, and I don't see it. So I'm going to, so I'm trying to unmute you, Mr. Hall, if you can, unmute yourself. If not, then if you can just put it in the chat now, I'll get back to your question, and I'm going to get to, it looks like next is Ivan Boris. So Mr. Ivan Boris had a question for you, Senator Schumer. So
Go ahead.
Boris, if you would unmute yourself.
Yes. Good evening, Majority Leader Schumer.
You can call me Chuck, Mr. Boris.
Thanks, Chuck. My question is, what are your thoughts on the potential impeachment of Governor Cuomo?
Oh, gee, I guess that's up to the legislature. I'm focusing on Donald Trump here. I did put out a statement, that said today that when a woman makes charges that sexual harassment, they have to be looked at very seriously. I'll send you my statement. I don't know where I wouldn't venture on impeachment yet. I'd leave that up to your state senator and your state assembly member.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Boris. So I am looking to see if I see any more questions. So Beatrice, do you have a question? I'm saying, okay, you do. All right. So Ms. Beatrice Coronel, Senator Schumer has a question for you. So Beatrice, if you could unmute yourself.
Good evening. It's not a question, more of a statement. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
I think I speak on behalf of many. Like, you're in a really powerful position at the moment. We really hope that you don't come in easy. You are from Brooklyn.
You bet. I'm a fighter.
Guns blazing. Spread love is a Brooklyn way. And we really hope that you fight for us, because for many years, nobody has really fought for us. So you're in a position that you could make things happen. So we hope that you don't go easy.
Nope, I won't go easy. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm a fighter. I mean, no one thought we'd get the majority. We did, because we fought, and now we got to get things done. If we don't get things done and people get disillusioned, we could get somebody worse than Donald Trump, because if you don't accomplish things for people, then the appeals to bigotry and divisiveness and nastiness sometimes win. One of the big questions is, how the heck did this guy get elected? And you know why? Because we didn't do enough for people, and we got to do plenty. And so I have a big, long list. I mentioned some of them already in my little talk, but we're going to get them done.
Even here for our borough, for our district, we've been plagued with many disparities and inequities: mental health, homelessness, food insecurity. There's so many things that we need help and support with. So thank you for being here, and we really hope that you go back and.
New bill, by the way, two of the things you mentioned. We have $5 billion for homeless because the city is not doing enough. And we put about $8 billion into mental health. Mental health gets neglected in the health thing. It needs health issues. It needs health care just like physical health needs health care. And so we put this in the bill. Here's another thing we do, which shows you. Okay. We double the child. Excuse me, folks. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Hall, can you mute yourself?
Okay.
Right, Mr. Hall, please unmute yourself. His question is about NYCHA, Senator.
I'll talk about that in a minute. But we double the child tax credit and double the EITC. We will take half the children in America out of poverty when we pass this bill. Each family, in addition to the $2,000 check, will get $300 more a month per child. And if you don't pay taxes, it's refundable, so you get it anyway. This is a big deal. This is probably the most progressive thing we've done since the New Deal. So we are really working hard to fulfill your correct diagnosis that we got to fight hard and not go easy. Go hard, go tough, and get as much done as you can.
Okay, so I see where Anthony Reed, another one of our board members, has a question. So Anthony, welcome, and please unmute yourself, sir. Okay, Anthony, you just muted yourself again.
Did you have the question on NYCHA, Mr. Burke, from Mr.?
No, it was I was looking for Mr. Hall's question, and I'm still looking for. I'm trying to unmute him, but he's I think I don't know if he finally figured it out or not. But right now, Mr. Reed is on, so you can speak to him, and then we can hopefully get to Mr. Hall.
Mr. Reed.
Yes, Mr. Schumer. Mr. Schumer, thank you. Welcome. And also, I really appreciate you coming through. And I just want to ask you something about the jobs. I'm really concerned about the future as far as benefits and pensions. Are those jobs going to be looked at as union jobs? Or
Yes.
Like, where we standing with that?
We say, Mr. Reed, every job that's used with federal money has to be a union job with CLA and Davis-Bacon. If you don't have a good union job, they're going to take advantage of you. My father was a union guy. It was the unions that oh boy, can you guys hear me? Yes, it was the unions that elected me when I first ran. I'm union all the way. My grandpa worked in the paper mills in Utica, New York, and helped founded the Paper Workers Union. So we want every federal job, every federal dollar that's spent to be a union job, a good paying job, which includes pensions.
Yes, and Mr. Schumer,
yeah.
Can I mention one more thing to you?
You bet.
As far as the apprenticeship language, a lot of these jobs, the apprenticeship is very important because you're trained on the job, and you also, you know, as you work, right, you learn more and you move up. So the apprenticeship language need to be in some of these jobs that they're actually doing in NYCHA, because NYCHA is looking like they're trying to sell up NYCHA, but we need apprenticeship language in those jobs.
You bet. We are trying to have we did pass apprenticeship for some of the construction jobs. We now want to pass it for every job, public service, private service, every job. Very important.
Yes, because they're selling a lot of NYCHA developments, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to underpay, when I believe that the prevailing wage language is still in NYCHA.
Yeah, we're not going to allow them to sell them, Mr. Reed. We're not going to allow them to sell them because they want to sell them and get. I've stopped, you know, Starrett City in the southern end of my district. Donald Trump wanted to take that over and turn it into high rise for fancy people. I stopped him. That was back in the 90s. That's why he hated me to begin with. And we're going to not let, we have to upgrade NYCHA, but keep it for working people, not let them.
Yes,
yes. And yes, we propose in our infrastructure bill, which is the next thing coming up, $60 billion for NYCHA. $60 billion. It's more than they ever had.
Yes. Thank you so much, Schumer. I appreciate you. And thanks for your essential work, because you're doing essential work right now. I know you deal with a lot of personalities and everything, but God bless you. I'm praying your strength.
Please pray for me, because we need the strength and we got to get things done.
So we're going to have Mr. Hall, Senator Schumer. I think Mr. Hall figured out how to unmute himself. So Mr. Hall, there you go.
Got to get off. Okay. Mr. Burke, I've been informed I'm speaking with Pastor Hawley and his group, working on NYCHA, by the way, in Brooklyn. So this can be the last question, but I'll come back.
This is the last question.
Great
Mr. Hall.
Yeah.
Please. Okay. Mr. Hall, this is the last question.
No, it isn't.
Mr. Hall. There you go. Mr. Hall.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You're up. You're up. He just muted himself again. I don't understand, Senator Schumer. I don't, Mr. Hall, you're up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Thank you. Chuck, listen, I was on the Zoom Saturday with regards to NYCHA.
Yes.
And you learned about the Green New Deal. And you see what our CEO is trying to do to all of the housing developments. He's trying to create a new legislation. He's going to Albany, and we cannot educate our residents on this process. But he's going forward. And I sincerely hope, in your best interest, you do not let this man come to DC and con you with regards to this blueprint for change.
Forget it. He's trying to hurt the public housing. He's on the and you know, Mr. Hall, we have a very good new we have a very can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We got a very good new HUD secretary. Her name is Marcia Fudge. She's from Cleveland. She knows public housing. She's going to be great. We're going to get her in. The last public housing secretary under Trump, Carson, hated public housing. So Nydia Velasquez and I had to say we're putting federal money into 23 of them. And one thing you have to make sure is the state and the city take money out of public housing. They shouldn't do that anymore. And that's what your guy wants to do. Stop them, and we will get federal money big time in there.
Senator Schumer, again, thank you so much. We know you have to go, but there are several other questions. So what I would like to ask is that, I don't know if your representative is still here, but if she can see what's in the chat, what we would like to do is between myself, our district manager, and our community associate, get those questions to you and written up. And so maybe you could, send back an answer to us, Senator Schumer, but we know that you're very busy. And the fact that you've taken this amount of time to greet us, we appreciate it. So on behalf of the constituents and the board members of Community Board 12, again, thank you very, very much for coming to greet us. And again, anything that we can do to help you in Washington, just please let us know. So
thank you. And Mr. Burke, you have a great board. You do a great job. Any problems that are federal, call me. I am your humble servant. And I mean that. I believe in helping people. That's how I started out.
Not a problem. So thank you so much, Senator Schumer. As I said before, we have plenty of questions that we will capture and get to, your representative.
And I'll come back another time. I'll come back another time.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you again, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
No problem.
Bye, Mr. Hall. It's finally good to hear your voice.
Okay. Thank you, Senator. So next we have Nicholas Vasquez, who is with Congressman Jamal Bowman's office. So Mr. Vasquez, please unmute yourself.
Hey, how you guys doing? Can everybody hear me well?
We can hear you.
Yeah, I just want to keep this brief. It's kind of hard to top something like that. With that being said, I do want to introduce myself. My name is Nicholas Vasquez, and I'm the operations coordinator for Congressman Jamal Bowman. I would like to apologize on his behalf. He couldn't make it tonight. He did want to be here, but if some of y'all don't know, he did have a death in his family. He is at the funeral today, so he kind of canceled all his events to spend time with him and his family. With that being said, our office is open. I want to make sure that everybody knows our office is open. We are working from home. We're working Monday through Fridays. Feel free to contact us for any type of services you need. We deal with federal services. However, me personally, I try to help out with anything I can, and my office is definitely invested in the community. With that being said, I'll put my information in the chat. I will put it again. If you guys do have any questions, please feel free to put in the chat or email me or shoot me a text. I have no problem with that at all. I'll put it in the chat once more. If anybody, actually, I'll just say it out loud for some people. My email is Nicholas, it's like on the screen, Nicholas with a K, .vasquez@mail.house.gov. Our office number is 718-530-7710. As I said before, the congressman did want to be here. For those who don't know, he was a principal within the district, spent 10 years. I actually had the honor of going to his middle school in Casa Middle School. So I don't know, I won't say I know him personally, but I know the man very well. And he does work hard. I could say personally, he's inspired me, and it is an honor to be working for him now. And it's even more of an honor to be here working with you all. With that being said, I didn't want to take up too much time. Thank you for giving me the chance to be here. And it's funny, I was actually reading your article earlier today, Mr. Burke. You're very known in the community and among the city. Thank you. We appreciate you. I appreciate you.
Well, first of all, we appreciate you. So welcome to Community Board 12. And yeah, I didn't mention that, but there was an article, but I'll mention that briefly. Again, we appreciate, the congressman and the work that he's doing. And again, please express our condolences on behalf of the constituents and board members of Community Board 5. And that when he is able to come and address us, we know that he will do just that. So again, please pass on our condolences, and we look forward to seeing him when he's able to come and visit us. Okay, not a problem. Thank you. So next we have a few more elected officials, and I know that someone is here from the DA's office. I want to say Erica Diaz is here from the DA's office. So I want to make certain that if I'm spelling her name properly. Yep, she is. So Erica, so again, welcome to Community Board 12.
Hello.
Hello.
Dr. Burke. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I've actually attended a few meetings before. I also believe my colleague Marilex Santana Tavares is on the line as well. So on behalf of the DA's office, we wanted to say hello. Our office is actually running. Majority of employees are working remotely, but we still have people coming in and out of the office and at the main office as well. We put our contact information in the chat, but we can also provide it again for anyone that needs it. Please feel free to reach out to us if we can be of any assistance. We also have our concept program running, which is our educational program. We are looking forward to expanding and being able to reach out to community organizations and actually different agencies to find out more information with regard to what our office can be of more assistance with. We are also working on putting together another gun buyback. And as soon as I have that information available, I will be sending it out to you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Diaz. And, again, welcome to us this evening. How was that? So we can say it that way. So I think our last, I know Manny's here from City Planning, but I think our last elected is Miguel Rondon, if I'm not mistaken, from the mayor's office. So, Mr. Rondon, welcome.
Hello, Community Board 12. I wasn't sure if I was going to get to speak or not, but thank you for allowing me to. My name is Miguel Rondon from the mayor's office. I am a part of the mayor's community affairs unit, one of the Bronx borough directors. I just wanted to give a couple of announcements. We have reached over the 1 million vaccinations mark for the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Over 1 million people have at least one dose in their arm. So just wanted to make sure that folks knew that. I also wanted to make sure that folks knew that there are community conversations on vaccine sites, vaccinations, where you can ask questions and things of the sort. For anyone interested, or perhaps I can just give the pass the information on to George via email, and then he can disseminate it. It's going to be. There was one today. There will also be one on March 2nd, Tuesday, March 2nd, from 5:30 to 7 p.m., and another one Tuesday, March 9th, once again from 5:30 to 7 p.m. in both English and Spanish. So feel free to sign up for those. I'll make sure to send the link to the district manager. Also, you can request to have someone speak about vaccinations at Community Board 12 or for different organizations throughout the community. All you have to do is go to nyc.gov/vaccine speakers, and you can request to have a speaker speak on sort of the state of vaccinations in our city via that site. Just to let folks know, today was the very first day middle schools reopened. The mayor and I were actually I'm always in Community Board 12 because I work remotely and I live in Community Board 12, but the mayor joined me today, or I guess I should say I joined him at 3710 Barnes Avenue, Leaders of Tomorrow Middle School. We were there at 8:30 in the morning. The mayor was present with the chancellor, greeting the middle schoolers who were showing up, speaking with parents, addressing concerns, before he moved on to his press conference later that morning. Just to let folks know, also pre-K applications are open. They were open as of February 24th, and the deadline to apply is April 7th. During the application period, you can apply online or via the phone. The New York City Department of Consumer and Worker Protections, you can file your taxes with them so long as either in person or online, so long as you've earned $68,000 a year or less in 2020. And of course, the city has a plethora of other services, most of them accessible via 311. So for example, Get Food NYC, Thrive NYC, the Domestic Violence Support Hotline, and many, many other services. I will remain on here for the entirety of this meeting. So should anyone want to ask me anything in the chat box or want me to email them or anything like that, just feel free to message me on the chat. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very, very much, sir. We do appreciate you coming to address us, Mr. Rondon, and I do believe that that is the last elected official outside, of course, of Alexis Ruiz, who represents the borough president's office, and so she will be next on the agenda. So I'm looking in the chat to make certain that I have everybody. And so again, I know that this was we did go along with elected officials, but whenever our United States Senator can come in and greet us, then by all means, we will give him, and if Senator Gillibrand wants to come and greet us, we will give her the floor, because quite frankly, they are the reason that we are here, because of course they write laws for us, and we come and try to be their eyes and ears and let them know what's going on the ground. So, we thank all our elected officials for coming in to greet us. So next but not least, of course, and again, I'm going to ask you that you forgive the notice, but the noise in the background, so I'm going to go ahead and mute this and ask Ms. Alexis Ruiz from the Borough President's Office to come in and give us greetings. So greetings, Alexis.
Hi, good evening, Dr. Burke. Good evening, everyone. I hope that everyone is staying safe and doing well. The latest Borough President report has been emailed. If anyone has not received it, I will place the link in the chat. Excuse me. Just a few reminders. All board members should have received the sexual harassment training course in their personal emails. Once you complete the form, the training, the completion certificate will be sent to you by email 2 or 3 days later. So once you've received it, please forward that into our office. I will place my email in the chat, as well as my supervisor, Tom Lucania. Also, if you have not done so already, please fill out and notarize the EEO certification form when you can, and send it in once you have signed, as well as the meeting attendance form for new members. It's located at the end of the application. If you could just please self-certify and send that to me, and I can confirm your attendance with the board directly. And then you can return these forms to me, of course, by email, and then send in the original by mail. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to contact me at the email or number listed in the chat. Thank you.
You're muted, Dr. Burke.
Thank you, George. Hello. Okay, so Daniel, apologize, Daniel Reynolds from the Bronx River Alliance.
Oh. Hi. Okay. I wasn't asking to speak, but thank you very much. Daniel Reynolds. I'm the Greenway Coordinator with the Bronx River Alliance. We're a nonprofit and a public-private partnership with parks, and we, work all up and down the Bronx River. And I know in your district that would be, I think, Shoelace Park. Is that right?
That would be correct.
All right. And I've always appreciated your community board meetings. Got a nice family feel to it. And my email address is daniel.ranells@bronxriver.org. And feel free to reach out and email us, and we look forward to coordinating with you. If you have any questions about what we do, I'm happy to answer them.
Well, we're going to take that into the chat, and I'm seeing where Tom, okay, I see, so Alexis has put something else in the chat. So we'll be happy to take that. You know what, I'm going to take this from our first vice chair, because, she's always said that we're family, sir. So I think that, and taking that, that's why we have a family feel, because, taking that from her lead, and, she said we're family. She said that almost a year ago, and that's true. I think as we grow, we're growing stronger together, and so that's why our theme is transformation to greatness. And so we are a family, and a lot of that's due to my first vice chair. So again, thank you for the compliment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're at that part of the agenda, ladies and gentlemen, where I give my report. So I'm going to make this awfully brief. And so right now I'm in the process of attempting to share this. And so I am sharing. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on my report because we've been here quite a while. So I'm just going to be brief. I was quote unquote invited to the district service cabinet meeting, which was chaired by our district manager, and I had the opportunity to ask the Department of Homeless Services questions about the homeless shelter on 4747 Bronx Boulevard, and there is no update. And so I know that the Assemblyman Denowitz and I discussed that, and so when I hear something, you hear something. As was mentioned by Mr. Vasquez from Congressman Bowman's office, I was approached, and Mr. Jason Combs from the Bronx Times asked if he could interview me. And I said certainly, and so that's how that came about. But as I've said before, I am not who I am without you board members and you community, because quite frankly, you read my sentiments in the article, and so I think that it's because of you and allowing me to lead you, despite what some may think, allowing me to lead you the best way that I know how. And so I just really want to thank you for that opportunity. Everybody's been talking about the vaccine, and so I'm just going to say this. So here are the links that I have that I'll have attached, because my report goes out. But for those people who are watching on TV, hopefully you can capture this, or if you need this report, then obviously you can send a note to either myself or Mr. George Torres or Ms. Ursula Green, and they will get you that note. So I will tell you this. So as of this moment, several community members did contact me and asked me the same question regarding a mass vaccination site in the Northeast Bronx. So at this moment, as we speak, there are only 3 vaccination sites, period, in the Bronx. All right, and that is the Walgreens on White Plains Road, which is actually not too far from where I'm at tonight, 3901 White Plains Road. There's the Walgreens at 4232 Baychester Avenue, and the Walgreens at 3575 Boston Road. All of those Walgreens at the moment are the vaccination sites that we have here in the Northeast and North Central Bronx. If you need to make an appointment, you need to make certain that you're eligible. But if you need to make an appointment, number is 1-800-925-4733, or you can go to their website and you can log on and make an appointment. So the one thing that I will say, and I saw this in the chat, is that 10466 and 10470 have been the zip codes that have been the least vaccinated in all of New York City, and so that is a problem. One of the questions that I have been asked, of course, is that can Community Board's 12 Carriage House can be used as a testing site, a vaccination site, and the answer is no. And the reason is twofold. A, because it's currently a vaccination site, and B, one of the concerns that they have, of course, is being able to have the refrigeration necessary in order to refrigerate both either the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccines. Now, if the Johnson & Johnson vaccine comes online, which it looks like it may, then that may be a different ballgame. But even at that vaccine has to be refrigerated. So last but not least, this morning, myself and our district manager attended the Bronx Borough Board and Borough Service Cabinet meeting, in which we voted on items that will be going to the mayor, which of course I sent to every board member. So hopefully you had the opportunity to read it, and it discusses the budget not only for our district, but for all the community boards in the Bronx. And so if you hadn't had an opportunity to read it, I ask that you do. Community Board 12 voted in the affirmative for that. Also, part of the discussion was with Mitchell Lama Housing and the program and the pros and cons of the legislation that is currently before the Assembly as it pertains to Mitchell Lama Housing. So with that being said, I'm going to stop with my report and I'm going to turn this over to our district manager.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I will also be brief. I just wanted, I'll just read it. Good evening, board members. Happy Thursday. I'm going to be brief as there is a lot to discuss and has been discussed already. This will be the last district manager's report that I will be reading. In the future, I will be submitting it in advance with the rest of the reports that you receive. When it is my time to talk, during the district manager's report section, I will just answer any questions board members may have about the report I submitted. Otherwise, we can just keep the meeting moving. The first thing I'd like to mention is that our minutes and agendas have been posted on our website. I know that was an issue from the last meeting. We still have a long way to go, but this is a step in the right direction. I would just caution that it took some time for DoIT to post the information, but hopefully once the controller's audit is complete, we will be able to get our submissions posted faster. The second and final thing I'd like to discuss is the report release by the City Council in December 2020. Speaker Corey Johnson released the comprehensive planning framework for New York City. I raise this issue as it is an attempt by the City Council to address inequities in the city planning process. Please take the time to read this report and scribble in the margins any questions you may have. The first hearing of the City Council was held for this matter on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, February 23rd. This is truly our opportunity to have a discussion, not about local planning development, but what the overall city looks like 10 to 20 years from now. This is the opportunity. I spoke with the chairman about this in regards to the siting of homeless shelters. We have two shelters. We have 4747 Bronx Boulevard. And in addition to that temporary site, we have two additional shelters, a men's shelter and a women's shelter coming to the district. This is the opportunity to have that conversation with the city and the City Council. This is a 50-page report. Like I said, please take the time and the opportunity to look at it, read it. This is what we are. We are a planning board. This is what we should be doing. And we should have committee meetings about this as quickly as we possibly can. And in conclusion, today marks my 2033rd day as your district manager, or my 5 years, 6 months, and 22nd day of my tenure here. I look forward to each and every day at the board. Thank you for your patience and good night.
So, George, thank you, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. And I shot that out to the board immediately. And in fact, I think Ms. Shaniqua Moore asked me about it this morning, and also Ms. Coronel. So I think hopefully, if you have the opportunity to look at it, as I said before, it is rather lengthy, but I'm not going to echo what the district manager said because he said it eloquently. And hopefully you get an opportunity to read it and go from there. So right now, we don't have any minutes to show you right now due to difficulties. And so we're going to forego that. However, we do need to make certain that we call the roll so that we have a quorum. So what I am going to do right now is I am going to do the following. I'm going to now allow board members to unmute themselves and go, and then we can go from there, because as I said before, we need to make certain that we have a quorum because we do have some voting issues that we need to discuss. So, and then of course we have a special presentation. So I think what I want to do is this. Let me do the presentation first, then call the roll. So I think that's probably the best way to go about it. Let's do the presentation first because we have a presentation on ranked choice voting. So let's do that first and then call the roll. Is that okay, Madam Secretary? Okay, so let's move forward. So I'm looking at Matt Pitt because I just saw him. Where is he? I just saw him, so let me see if I can find him. So Matthew, and I can't spell his name properly, and so that's probably part of the problem. So Matthew Pitt is the representing the New York City Campaign Finance Board. And so what I'm going to ask him to do is come in and give us a presentation regarding the ranked choice voting. So, Mr. Pitt, hang on for a second. The floor is yours.
Hello, can you all hear me? Hello? Okay, so
We can hear you. We can hear you, Matthew.
All right. So my name is Matthew Pitt with the New York City Campaign Finance Board. I'm here to give a small presentation on ranked choice voting. And through that presentation, I'm going to just list out what to expect on the ballot when you go in to vote on March 23rd or on June 22nd. And in addition to that, I'm going to let you all know how the tabulation works when the Board of Elections is counting all the votes. Am I allowed to share my screen?
Yes, you are.
Oh, it's not letting me do it.
Okay, you should be able to share, so hang on for a second to find out why. Nope, you should. Okay, hang on for a second. All right.
Oh, there we go.
Try it now. Okay.
Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So as I said earlier, I'm just going to go over what ranked choice voting is and how does ranked choice voting actually work. So what is ranked choice voting? Ranked choice voting is a new way for voters to elect their representatives. In New York City, voters can rank up to 5 candidates in order of preference instead of just choosing the one candidate that you could have done before. And in this system, voters have more say in who wins. This increases the civility amongst the candidates, and it can lead to more diverse candidates winning an election. Now, currently in the United States, 2 states, Maine and Alaska, currently uses ranked choice voting statewide. I believe Maine also uses this for their general elections as well. Alaska should be coming online later on this year. In addition to that, roughly 17 cities throughout the United States also uses ranked choice voting, as you can see here from the small list that we have: San Francisco, Minneapolis, and Santa Fe. And in addition to that, the Academy Awards also uses ranked choice voting as well. Now, in New York City, ranked choice voting will be effective on January 1st, 2021. This will only be used in special and primary elections for city offices only. And those city offices are mayor, public advocate, comptroller, borough president, and city council. You will not see ranked choice voting being used in any general elections. It will not be used in any federal or state elections. And in certain local races, you will not see ranked choice voting, such as district attorney and judicial elections. Now, prior to this, as you all may know, we had single choice elections. And in that system, candidates only chose one candidate. Voters only chose one candidate for each office, and the candidate with the highest number of votes won the election. However, in that system, the winner doesn't always receive a majority of the vote. In addition to that, we also had runoff elections where candidates for mayor, public advocate, and comptroller, if they were running in a primary election and they didn't receive more than 40% of the total primary election vote, a runoff election took place. Now, with ranked choice voting, runoff elections are eliminated. Now, how does ranked choice voting work? And for this, I'm just going to go over steps for how you should mark your ballot when you see it for the first time. So make sure that, when you see the ballot, that you pick your first choice candidate and completely fill in the oval next to their name under the first column. You're going to do the same thing with the second column, third column, fourth column, and the fifth column. Remember, you can rank up to 5 candidates. However, you don't have to do that if you just want to choose one candidate to cast your vote for, or choose rather, you can do that as well. Now here's a sample ballot of from the 31st Council special election, which happened, I believe, 2 days ago. And this is basically what the ballot is going to look like for all of our elections. So you'll see the ballot here that's provided is in English, Spanish, and Bengali. And remember, languages do vary by election district and assembly district. Now, for errors that can be made by voters when marking the ballot, one error that can be made is giving multiple candidates the same rank. As you can see here, in this example, somebody gave their first choice to both candidates B and C. That is an error that the machine will spit back out, or if spotted by the poll worker, they will tell you to fix the error by giving you a new ballot. In addition to that, we also ask that voters don't rank a candidate more than once, as this can have the effect of immediately exhausting the ballot, and I'll go over what that would potentially look like a little bit later on. Now, as for the actual tabulations itself, I think as was stated a little bit earlier, remember all of your first choice votes will be counted first, and if a candidate receives more than 50% of those first choice votes, they win the election. However, there's going to be a situation where a candidate may not receive 50% of first choice votes. If that happens, the counting will then continue in rounds. And just one thing you want to remember is that in each round, candidate with the fewest number of votes is going to be eliminated. So in this one, you'll see that after all of the first choice votes were counted in the first round, candidate D came out with the least amount at 12%. So what will happen is candidate D will be eliminated now in the first round. Now, if your top choice is eliminated, what will happen is we'll go to your second round choice, your second round choice, and we'll keep counting from there. So as you can see, after the first round, candidate A, B, and C have received increased vote totals. However, candidate C has the least with 24%, and candidate B has the most at 45%. And remember, it continues. So this is round two. We're going to have to count all the round twos. Now, for anyone, so for this example, if you voted for candidate D, that person was eliminated in round one. We go on to round two. We find out that you voted for candidate C in round two. What will happen is it will count towards candidate C. However, since candidate C has the least amount at 24%, as I said earlier, they will be eliminated. And as a result, here we go. And as a result of that, we will have to move on to round three after all of those tabulations are done. Remember, the same process continues until there are two people left. So now we'll move on to round three. Candidate B with the most at 45, candidate A with the second highest at 31%. All of those will be counted. Of course, remember, this process does continue until there are two candidates left. And in our example, we'll see that candidate B wins with 58% of the vote, with candidate A losing at 42% in this round. Remember, the candidate with the most votes wins. So remember, when they count your first choice votes and that person receives, and a candidate receives more than 50 or more percent, they win the election. However, if the counting continues in rounds, the candidate with the most number of votes wins. There's a possibility that a candidate may not hit 50% when we start going through the second, third, or fourth rounds. So please keep that in mind. Now, the main takeaway here is that you can rank up to 5 candidates. However, you don't really have to do that. And if you do rank 5 candidates, 5 votes are not being counted, as I explained to you in my example. You only have the 1 active vote. Candidates are being eliminated once you start counting once you start the rounds. Now, if you prefer to, you can just vote for your first choice candidate. But remember, ranking does go to the benefit of the voter, because when you rank other candidates, it really doesn't harm your first choice. And when you rank multiple candidates, you can still impact who gets elected, even if your top choice doesn't win. And ranking multiple candidates also ensures that your vote will go towards your second, third, fourth, or even your fifth choice if your top choice is eliminated, which gives you more say in who wins an election. Now, as to the question of when to expect results, in half of ranked choice vote RCV elections, there's a winner in the first round. However, that means in the other half of those elections, a winner won't be known for a week or longer. So we just saw an example of that in Queens, where the February 2nd election, a winner was known after the first round votes were counted. However, in the election that occurred 2 days ago, when all the first round votes were counted, I do not think a candidate received more than 40% coming out of the first round. So right now, the Board of Elections is continuing to tabulate the other rounds by hand, I believe. Now, as for resources, you can always visit our website. Here's the information right here. I will copy this and place it in the chat. You can always visit our website, voting.nyc, nyccfb.info/RCV, and also nyccfb.info/RCVFAQs. You can also visit the Board of Elections website. They have information on not just ranked choice voting as well, but they also have information on any and all elections that are coming up this year. So if you have any questions about the special election in your district, please feel free to visit the Board of Elections website. And also, if you're unsure as to where your poll site is located, they also have a poll site locator as well on their website. And in addition to that, here is my direct contact information, mpitt@nyccfb.info. I will copy this information and also place that in the chat as well. Any questions?
Okay, so again, Mr. Pitt, thank you. So I think the way that we're going to address any questions regarding ranked choice voting is the same way that we did the last time. So I'm looking at the participants list. So if you have any questions for Mr. Pitt regarding ranked choice voting, then I'm going to ask that you, raise your hand, and then I will unmute you and recognize you. So I'm going to wait for a minute or two to see if anybody has any questions regarding ranked choice voting. Mr. Pitt, and I'm looking and I don't see any as of yet. I don't see any as of yet. And I still don't see any, so I think maybe I don't guess that there are any questions regarding ranked choice voting. I'm still looking, I don't see any, but if there are, then I guess people will put it in the chat. Oh, I see one. All right, so there's one from Theodore James. So where are you at, Ted? Okay, I got you. So Ted, please unmute yourself and ask Mr. Pitt your question. Okay, Ted, unmute yourself. Okay, Ted, we can't hear you. Unmute yourself. Okay, I don't know what's going on, but like I said, Ted cannot unmute himself for whatever reason. I'm letting him do that, and he, I don't know. Press the space bar, Ted. Okay, put your question in the chat, and let me see if I can read it. Okay, so I do not know why that is, but in any event, we're gonna try this again. All right, Ted. So, did you get it for me? Yes, no. Okay. So I do not know what's going on. But as I said, Ted cannot unmute himself. So we'll have to, go from there. So if Ted puts his question in the chat, then, maybe we can, or send it, Ted, you have my number, so send me a text. Send me a text and I'll try to get it. So Keisha, I noticed that you said something that I saw your message. You have a question, Keisha? No? Okay. Anybody else has a question?
Okay, Doctor, I think I'm unmuted now.
Was that? Oh, there you go. You unmuted. Okay, there you go, Ted.
Yeah, Mr. Pitt, what you explained sounds very, for lack of a better word, complex or complicated in terms of the tallying of the votes. Is there going to be any sort of public education campaign that people could really understand how this process works?
Yes. So our agency, along with several of our community partners, are going around the city of New York, and we're explaining to New Yorkers basically, one, as I just did tonight, how it works, and two, how the tabulations are counted by the Board of Elections. It is actually very quite complex. That's why I try to bring it down to earth as much as I possibly can, so that way we all can understand basically what's going on when the Board of Elections is doing accounting. However, we are currently in the middle of our public education.
Well, definitely, it does seem very complex. And is this counting being done manually, or is it an automated process for the process of elimination?
So right now, it's my understanding that the last two elections, the Board of Elections currently has to do it by hand. Automated computerized system that they have is not yet. I do not know why, as I'm not an employee of the Board of Elections. However, it's to my understanding that by June, the system should be computerized.
Okay, and my last question is, how do you see this working in terms of eliminating fraud or any suspicious activity or anything of that nature?
Fraud?
Fraud.
Oh, you mean voter fraud?
Yeah.
Generally, that's usually handled at the poll site itself. Okay, I'm not an employee of the BOE, but my understanding is that when you register to vote, you place on the actual registration form either your ID number from your state ID or the last 4 digits of your social security number. Once that goes to the Board of Elections, they actually run that information to see if, one, you're a citizen, and two, you are who you say you are. And three, that your birthday is the day that you say it is on. If it bounces back as, I guess, not being correct, factually correct, what will happen is once you go to the poll site, they will hold you, well, they won't hold you at the poll site, sorry. What will happen is they actually will give you an affidavit ballot of some sort, and on the affidavit ballot, you'll have to confirm the information. And I do believe you may have to also submit other information as well. Once that is done, they'll have to verify that what you're saying is correct.
Okay, if I can stop you.
And then your vote will be counted.
I understand what you're saying, but that's not what I was asking. The fraud I was referring to is in the actual counting. Yeah, you're cycling through these ballots 3-4 times, and that's the fraud I'm saying. If you're going to go through them 2 or 3 times, what's the possibility of them missing a vote or counting a vote more than once, that type of thing?
With regards to that, I would have to ask that you maybe direct that question to someone who works at the board itself. I don't work for the board, and I'm not involved in the particulars of the day-to-day counting operations that they do.
All right, thank you. There's still a lot more questions I have on this, but I don't want to take up any more time, but it seems very complex.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that this is a very convoluted topic. It's very layered, and I think, in my opinion, I haven't seen enough information and initiatives going out, especially in our community, about it. So I guess my question is, are there funds in a budget that's being allocated to pushing these initiatives in order to educate the community about this properly? Because I think this presentation is informative, but I can see by the looks on our faces, we still have a lot of questions about how it really works. So I guess the question is, are there funds allocated to really educating our community about how to really fill out a ballot, and especially for primary elections? And then secondly, my next question is, are poll workers going to be properly trained to be able to really educate and provide guidance to those that are coming to vote?
So the Board of Elections is handling all trainings for poll workers with respect to ranked choice voting and to other situations that may occur at a poll site as well. To answer your first question, our agency has been, well, I don't know the particulars of the city budget, but I do know our agency has allocated roughly $10 million of our funds to provide a public education campaign. That includes PSAs, which should be made available, I believe, by the first week of the first week of March. In addition to that, there'll be mailings going out to voters in CD 11 and 15 as well. I believe that mailing should have already gone out either this week or will go out next week. And in addition to that, we also have our outreach team going out, not only going out to community boards such as this, but also we train our community partners throughout the 5 boroughs to assist us in getting the word out about ranked choice voting, and also making sure that the populace is educated on this topic.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted like a follow-up to that. When you mentioned working with the community partners, I was thinking about the census and how they worked a lot with the CBOs and the community boards, and actually it was an opportunity for them to be funded. I'm wondering if the city will consider doing something similar, where they'll partner with CBOs and sort of provide some type of funding, being that they have a lot of access to families to get this information across quickly.
Yes. And if you know of any, please have them contact me directly. I'm consistently looking for partners all the time.
Okay, so Ms. Moore has put her mic back on, so I guess that we are fine. I don't see any other questions or hands raised. So on that note, Mr. Pitt, thank you very, very much. I see you did put your information in the chat. So if we can be of any other service to you, please feel free to let us know.
Thank you, Dr. Burke, and thank you, Mr. Torres.
Not a problem. Again, thank you.
Dr. Burke.
Okay, there's another question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Dr. Goff.
I raised my hands even when Schumer was here, Senator. I got no response.
I didn't see your hand raised, Dr. Goff.
Can you see it now?
No, ma'am. Your hand is not raised. I mean, I can see you, but I did not see where your hand is raised.
No, I must be doing something wrong, so I don't want to mess it up. That's fine, because I had a very important question for Senator Schumer. But on the ranking voting, I would like to ask this question. I think I heard him correctly said that if you have one choice in voting, that person you vote for may be your top choice and your only choice. But it's beneficial if you go through and do a second choice. Did I hear that correct?
Yeah, so just to clarify, if you wanted to, you could just make one choice in the first column. However, it is more beneficial for voters to rank their choices. So whether that be 2 choices, 3 choices, 4 or 5 on the ballot.
Because, okay, the second part of my question would be that because what's beneficial to continue ranking your choices is because the person in your first choice may not get over the 40%. Did I hear that correct?
Sorry, say it again.
Why it's beneficial for you to do your second, third, and fourth choices is because your first choice may not go over the percentage that's needed to be win the case. Win the seat.
That's one benefit. Another benefit is that you have more say in eventually who ends up winning an election. And in addition to that, it sort of creates an atmosphere where candidates have to be as civil as possible, because in this system, it hurts the candidate to be negative. You turn off a voter and they just don't rank you at all. Versus being civil and you're asking certain segments of the voting population, can you list me as your number one? Can you list me as your number two, number three, so on and so forth?
Okay. In fact, I think the Councilman Raleigh is going to be doing something on Saturday. So if anybody's interested, you could zoom in on that ranking workshop too. Thank you for answering the question.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Pitt. I do appreciate you coming in because the hour was getting late and we still have, unfortunately, one area of business, and then we have a Black History program, and then we'll be done. And actually, no, we're going to go into executive session after that because we have some board members that want to address me. So we're going to go to executive session and let them do just that. So again, thank you very, very much, Mr. Pitt. We appreciate you. And what we want to do right now is we need to call the roll because, like I said, I do not know what's happened here, but here we go. What we need to do, unfortunately, is the worst part of the agenda, which is something that I don't like, but it's something that I think has to be done. So before we do that, we need to have the roll call. So before that, I see Madam Secretary has her mic ready to go. So Madam Secretary, if you can call the roll to determine if we have a quorum. I want to let you know before you begin, Frank Porter called me and asked to be excused, Madam Secretary. So Frank Porter called me and asked to be excused.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if you're on the phone, okay, so I know Mr. Stricker's on the phone. I know Dr. Goff is on the
Most
phone.
of the people, Dr. Berger, I've got most of the people, and it looks like we do have a quorum.
I know Mr. Stricker's on. Right, so hang on, there's some background noise, Mr. BTS. So what'd you say?
I said, I believe we do have a quorum.
Okay.
And when you go from that point on, you can continue with your program.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, that makes life easier for me. So thank you, I appreciate that. I really and truly do. So, with that being said, as I said, so let me share my screen and get to some unpleasant business that we have to deal with, and then go from there. So, Carl, I'm going to mute you right now, and let's see if my screen is sharing. Okay, so we're at the old business portion of the board meeting, in which, again, quite frankly, we have to take a vote to, expel some board members. And so last month, here's how the process worked. So for those that are unaware, we follow the Community Board 12 handbook. All right, so we followed the handbook and we followed the bylaws to the T. So for anybody who's asking questions as to how we came to that, that's how we came to that. We followed the handbook. So the first order of business was to inform the board members themselves that there was an issue with their lack of attendance. And so to that end, what wound up happening was I wound up calling each board member that was in violation of the rules. So I wound up not only calling each board member, but I wound up speaking with some of them and letting them know that they were on the list. And so again, my next step, in addition to a phone call, was to send this letter and to let them know that they were, in fact, being considered for expulsion. And every board member received a copy of this letter, so I'm not going to read it, but this is just a generic letter for each member that had not been attending. And again, by rule, the director of community boards from the borough president's office was notified, as well as our district manager and our community associate. So this generic letter was sent to the members. The members had until February the 12th to respond to me in writing, because the rules state that they must respond in writing to be addressed by the commission that at the last board meeting you agreed on forming. To date, none of these respondents responded to my request to defend themselves in writing. None of them sent any notice at all, and that's including up until last week. So with that being said, with the authority invested in me, I am recommending to the members of Community Board 12 that the following members have their membership revoked from Community Board 12, and they thus be expelled from the board. Ms. Evelyn Christian, Mr. Robert Cumberbatch, and Ms. Mary McLeod. So before we do that, and since we have a quorum, are there any questions as it pertains to these board members? Mr. Boris, you have a question. Now mute yourself, Mr. Boris.
Not a question, Michael. Just food for thought for the members. We are in a pandemic, and I do understand that there are rules and regulations, and there's a book, but we are in a pandemic, and I think that it should be strongly considered. But at the end of the day, everybody's entitled to their vote.
Okay. All right. With that being said, so
Excuse
again,
me,
we have to
Dr.
vote.
Burke.
Excuse me?
I was saying, excuse me, Dr. Burke, this is Lucy Martin speaking.
Yes.
I wanted to, I guess to Ivan's point, I know Miss McLeod is someone that's an essential worker working at North Bronx Hospital. And I work with her in another organization, and it seems that just with regard to vaccines and people who are eligible being able to, go in for the vaccine, she's doing essential work with regard to that. And I know that extended hours at the hospital could have impacted her attendance. So I'm just wondering what that might have looked like in your communication, with her specifically.
Well, certainly. So she did address that, Ms. Martin. She did address that was a concern. And I told her that all she had to do was just pick up the phone, just like Mr. Porter did, and say, Dr. Burke, I'm not going to be able to make it. Once you do that, it then becomes an excused absence, Ms. Martin. But Ms. McLeod did not do that. And so therefore it became an unexcused absence. And not only that, for the record, she only attended 3 meetings, and that was all of last year, including from January of 2020 to the present. She's only attended 3 meetings. And so if you miss 3 consecutive meetings, as of the old bylaws, that's a dereliction of duty anyway, and thus the letters generated. So, as I said, you know how I feel about excuses. And, again, I understand that everybody is busy or may not be able to attend every meeting, but there's absolutely no excuse. Just a phone call, just like Mr. Porter did, Dr. Burke, I can't make it. So that's just where I stand on that. And that was communicated to all of the expellees, a potential, not just Ms. McLeod. Okay? Okay, so I'm ready to call for the vote. So, Madam Secretary, we need to call each individual. So the first person up is, and I know that, I'm looking at Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall is like, we just do it all in one fell swoop. Mr. Hall, I see, but we cannot do that. We have to follow the rules because I don't want any excuses or anything else. So we have to call each person individually. So a yes vote is to revoke their membership and expel them from the board. A no vote is to keep them on the board, and obviously you can abstain or recuse yourself. So with that being said, Madam Secretary, call the roll, please.
Please listen very carefully as I call your names. Okay, I'm getting an echo back, so I don't know what that's about. Okay. Can you hear me?
People have to mute themselves, Ms. Benitez. People have to mute themselves so you don't hear the feedback.
Yeah, I know. Okay, Abdul Hassim,
Yes.
Franklin Alapo,
Abstain.
Judith Benitez, yes. Egeria Bennett.
Okay, wait.
Egeria. Did you hear what she said?
I think she said yes, but she's got a bad connection. I don't know. What did you say, Julia? Okay.
Sydney Blair.
Yes.
Sydney Blair.
I am muted, but I can't hear her because there's too many
Mr. Hall,
different mics open. I'm saying yes.
Sydney,
can you repeat that, please?
I'm sorry.
I'm saying yes.
Okay, thank you. Denise Bond.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hang on for a second, Ms. Benitez. Mr. Hall, can you mute yourself until we call to you? Okay, thank you. Because I know Deacon's coming up. I know the Deacon's with you. Okay,
No,
so we got you. Just unmute yourself when it's your turn, okay?
Okay, great. Ivan Boras. Ivan.
Abstain.
Carla Basati. Carla Basati. Carla Basati.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Marlene Brown Allen.
Abstain.
Victor Brown. Victor Brown. Victor Brown. Victor Brown. Oh, God.
I think his video's frozen, Ms. Benitez. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, I'll pass it by. Jerome Brown. Jerome Brown.
He could only stay for 1 hour. He sent us a message in the chat.
He had to go. Yeah, he had to go. So he had to. He was here and he left.
Okay. Deacon Edward Brown.
Yeah. Said yes.
Thank you. Norbert Bryan.
Yes.
Katie Samble. Sadie Campbell.
She said aye. I heard her.
Thank you. Gail Clark. Not present. Joan Claude.
Yes.
Beatrice Coronel.
Yes.
Thank you. Pauline Dickinson.
Yes.
Kevin Eichelberger.
Yes.
Alfredo Figueroa.
Abstain.
Abstain. Barbara Gibson.
Abstain.
Johnny Goff. Johnny Goff. Is she there? I don't see her
Yes,
anymore.
I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Okay. What is your vote?
I vote yes.
Thank you, Johnny. Chantel Green, not present. Robert Hall.
Yes, that's with a letter thanking them for their service. Dr.
Lisa Hayes.
Yes.
John Isaac.
Yes.
Theodore James.
Yes.
Keisha Martin. Yes. Okay, I'm assuming she's saying yes. Ifa Lass.
Yes.
Paul Lanzano. Paul Lanzano.
I'm sorry, Ms. Benitez. Did you get A for she said yes?
I got it. I heard her.
Okay.
It's faint, but I heard her.
Right. Ms. Lanzano.
Paul. Okay, thank you. Lucille Martin.
Abstain.
Shanika Moore.
Yes, with the exception of Mayor McLeod Bethune, who's the assistant.
We're just dealing with this person, Miss Christian.
Oh, okay, so yes.
Clinton Mike. Clinton, just shake your head or whatever. Aye. Yes, okay. Carmen Ortiz is not present, am I correct? Okay. Claudia Powell? Not present. Anthony Reed? Anthony Reed?
They say that I'm not there.
Present.
Let them see me. Yeah.
So what is your vote, Anthony?
Where's my what?
What is your vote?
Oh, I didn't even hear you. I wasn't on for a second. I had to run to the bathroom.
We're voting on the expulsion of Miss Evelyn Christian.
Wow. You could just excuse me for that. Recuse me, whatever. Get me out.
On what grounds?
Because I don't know what you're talking about, really. I can't even hear you.
You can abstain, Anthony, if you don't want to vote. You can vote yes, no, or abstain.
Yeah, the phone is echoing. It's echoing. I can't really hear you.
You have three choices, Anthony. You can abstain, you can vote yes to expel, or no.
Okay, so that means you might have not heard what Dr. Burke said earlier.
No, I didn't.
Dr. David Robbins is not present. Harry Singh.
Aye.
Thank you. Carl Stricker. Carl Stricker. Nicole Ware is not present.
Aye.
Thank you, Carl.
You're welcome.
Okay, what about Victor Brown? Is he back? What is your vote, Victor? We're voting on the expulsion of Miss Christian, Evelyn Christian. Where is he going?
I don't know. Jerome Brown wanted to be unmuted, so I told him star 6.
Okay, I have majority.
Abstain.
Who abstained?
They saying that I'm not.
Who's this?
That's Carmen Ortiz. She wants you to know that she's abstaining.
Oh, hi, Carmen. Okay. Thank you, Carmen.
I'm frozen. I can see everybody, but I'm frozen.
Okay. And Victor Brown, we lost him, but somehow he walked away. So I'm just going to leave it blank. But the ayes have it.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Secretary. So,
wow.
That I see Mr. Hall is up here rejoicing. So look, I'm going to do this. We're supposed to do it one at a time, but this is taking longer than it should. So here's what I'm going to ask. All right. So Ms. Moore says she wants to change her vote to what with Ms. McLeod? What do you want your vote to be, Ms. Moore?
No for Mary McLeod.
All right. So you want to keep going forward. All right. Yes. So no for Mary McLeod. Is anybody else going to change their vote?
So Ms. Moore is the only one that's doing that?
Yeah, Ms. Moore's the only, well, she's only changing it for one person. She's only changing it for Ms. Mary McLeod. She's keeping it whatever she voted for the other two.
Okay. Now, this is Lucy Martin. I'd like to change mine to no for Ms. McLeod as well.
Okay, so Ms. Martin, Ms. Lucille Martin changes hers for no for Ms. McLeod as well.
Okay, any of the abstentions for Mr. Cumberbatch? Are there any changes from that? You're not answering me, so I don't know what that means.
Well, we're going to assume that they're going to keep it the same. We're going to keep it the same. And,
okay.
Right?
Yeah, so then I guess then you'll have to say the ayes have it.
Yeah, the ayes have it. You know, motion,
Dr. Berg, I'm sorry, Dr. Berg. What was yours going to be?
Yes, ma'am. So, I mean, the bottom line is motion passes. So, as of this moment, Ms. Evelyn Christie, Mr. Robert Cumberbatch, and Ms. Mary McLeod have had their membership revoked. And at this moment, they are no longer members of Community Board 12. Per your recommendation, Mr. Hall, I will send them a note as well as copy the Borough President's office. If Alexis is not on here still, I will copy the Borough President as well as our District Manager and our Community Associate, Ursula Green. So thank you, board members. I know it's something that we don't like to do, but you know, unfortunately, circumstances call that we have to have board members that are working. You know, if you're just taking up a space, then you're not really working. Mr. Brown says he cannot hear or unmute, so I don't know what's going on, but you know, it is what it is. So at this point, what I like to do is move to the final portion of the program. And so, you know, the Library and Cultural Affairs Committee, under the guidance of Mrs. Joan Clyde, along with Ms. Sadie and the members of her committee, Ms. Brown, Ms. April Last,
Debbie now
Hayes,
came out.
Came up with a program that they would like to present to you. Once this is done, I'm going to call for an adjournment, and then those members that want to address me, we will go into executive session, and they can address me with their concerns, and like I said, we'll just go from there. Okay. So, Ms. Clyde, and you can take it away.
Mr. Chairman, A4 last will do the presentation for the Library and Cultural Affairs Committee.
Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm wondering if I can share my screen.
Can you share your screen? Let me see. Yes, you can share your screen.
Give me 1 second.
You should be able to share your screen.
I don't see an option for that.
You should be able to. It says anyone can share. Oh, here you go. Hello. All right, anyone can share. My apologies. So anyone can share. So you can share, Ms. Last. My apologies to you.
That's fine. There we go. Where would I see it on the screen?
It would be if you go to the bottom, you'll say share. Where you'll see it say mute, stop video, share, and then if you click on that, you can share the content.
For some reason, it's still grayed out for me. Can I just email this to you really quickly, then?
Certainly. Are you on your computer, right?
I am.
Yeah. If you go to the bottom of your screen, at the very bottom, it should be right smack dab in the middle. It should be like share.
I see it, but for some reason, it's grayed out. I don't want to spend too much time on it.
Okay,
I
that's
just
fine.
I just sent you the presentation. It's just one page.
Okay, so let me check my own snaps.
Try it now. Try it now, Afa.
Nope.
I made you an email, so yeah, try it.
I made you a presenter.
Oh, you made a presenter? Okay, yeah, that's great. Thanks, George. So, Afa, try it now, because I know you guys worked on this, and I kind of want the board to see this, and the community as well.
Yeah, I think it might be my computer because it's telling me it's not giving WebEx permission. So I don't know. I'm not going to stress this, but I appreciate it. But if you go in your email, either George or Dr. Burke, hopefully you see it, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I'm refreshing my email now, so I have a message from Mr. Jerome Brown. Here we go. Let's see, but I don't have a message from you as of yet. George, do you have it?
I think the
Not yet.
subject is WebEx meeting.
Do you want to start reading, but maybe start pulling it up?
Yeah, anyone can pull it up. Whoever has the email can pull it up.
Okay, yeah, because I don't. It's not coming up here, so we don't have it. So Lisa, why don't you drive it? Do you have
You got it?
I do not have. My share button is also blocked out. But what I was suggesting, Afua, is because our community board is very awesome, and we can also send a item out later. If you want to just go ahead and start reading about the women and the Black History presentation that we're going to do, I think it'll be great.
Makes sense. I will do that, and then I'll send it
again because it hasn't come through yet. I don't know why. I'm looking at my email right now and I don't see it.
That is very weird, but we can send this one more time.
Okay.
As I do that, as was mentioned earlier, we are in Black History Month, and as the library committee, we were just thinking through how can we share a piece of what we do and what we think about with the rest of the board. And what Ms. Claude came up with was more or less saying, when we think about Black History Month, we think about the greats, right? We think about Coretta King, we think about Rosa Parks, and I'm pretty sure all of us have done some form of presentation or heard a lot about them, and rightfully so, because they have done amazing things in history. However, there are also so many other folks who have done this similar work and helped move us forward in the civil rights agenda. So we just wanted to highlight that. So some people that we wanted to highlight are Madam C.J. Walker. I'm sure a lot of you know her as the pioneer of hair care. So if you're getting any perms, I don't know if we still do that anymore, but if you're perming your hair or any of that thing, you probably are thankful for her for doing that. Alfredo, I see you. You're probably not getting a perm, but you probably used a comb or something that she came up with to make sure your hair was growing, right? So we appreciate Madam C.J. Walker for that. If you want to learn more about her, her book On Her Own Ground was published a few years ago, and she also has a special on Netflix. So whether you want to read that or just watch more about her life, it's super interesting. So please do that. Someone else is Marie Van Brittan Brown. She actually invented the first home security system in 1966. So I'm pretty sure someone was playing on her front yard and she was like, I don't have time for this, right? Or I think earlier in the call, someone was mentioning how filthy the streets can be, and I'm pretty sure she wanted to see who was littering her streets. So she made the first home security system, and she was able to get that patented, and I think that's really amazing because so much of us rely on security systems now. Again, that's Marie Van Brittan Brown. So long. The next person is Henrietta Lacks, and she is known because her cells were taken to test the polio vaccine that has obviously impacted so many people's lives now. And as we talk about vaccines now and how that's going to be a pivotal part in ending COVID, we're very much aware of someone like Henrietta Lacks, who unknowingly got her cells taken from her, but yet is still impacting us now. So really just shining a light on her. She also has a book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And Oprah Winfrey recently, I don't know if she commissioned a movie or if the movie's already out yet, but there is a movie about Henrietta Lacks out in the world. And the last one is Septima Poinsett Clark, and she's an educator and civil rights activist. She developed the literacy and citizenship workshops that played an important role in the drive for voting rights and civil rights. Earlier, someone asked if there are more resources so we can learn about this new way of voting. And we have to thank someone like Septima for even like bringing that to the forefront to begin with, so we can all vote the way that we vote now, and make the change that we need to see in our communities. And her book is Freedom's Teacher, if you're interested in more about her story. So those are the 4 women we're highlighting. Hopefully you've learned something tonight, or if not, you're able to kind of go out in the world and learn more about other folks. Thank you.
April, thank you so much. And again, I know that I'm still checking my email because I really want everybody to see it, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see the email, and so I do not know what's going on. I'm clicking, and I don't see
Is it, Dr. Berg, is it possible, I know a few weeks ago you changed your email to the chairman's email, so is it possible that if I sent it to your previous email?
You know what? It's possible. I hope not, but that is a possibility. Who's saying that?
I did get it. But I couldn't. Yeah, but I think you may have changed something in the controls because the share function is not available, and I can't.
I didn't change a thing. So, because I'm not the host right now, the way I have it.
Yeah, you are the host. Oh well, I can't even wrest the host back from you. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know.
I don't know what happened. Can you share now? Try it now.
Yeah, now it says I can share.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but yeah, just try to and just if you can't just go through the slides because these ladies worked hard. The one thing I can say about the Library and Cultural Affairs committees, not that I don't enjoy the other committee meetings, but the ladies really, they bring lightness and joviality to their committee meetings. So I like to thank, Mrs. Clyde and Ms. Sadie and their team because they really, they really put a lot of work into this. And as you can see next month, just to give you a highlight, for those of you that saw the flyer for Women's History Month, they're going to be honoring our very own Madam Secretary, Ms. Judith Benitez. So I hope that, you pay attention, to that. And so I just want to say thank you for the work that you ladies do. George, you have it?
Yeah, it's a megabyte, so it takes a little bit to load.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if you can just quickly, I know that you, I don't think we mind. So this is fantastic. So if you can just go over this again quickly.
Yeah, so just if you scroll through, and I just put in the chat that if George or Ursula are willing to send us out an email, it's more or less just really, really quick because we didn't want to take up too much time tonight, but it highlights what they're known for, and if you wanted to do more reading. I couldn't find more reading on Marie Van Brittan Brown, but I'm sure if you were interested in more of her work and her husband's work, you could Google that. But if you look at this, you see their names, what they're known for, and the books that are associated with them. So as the library team, I think it's only fair that we shared some reading with you. So definitely go check that out.
Well, I think, your second person, I can say I'm looking at the names right now, but they may be, I won't say, they may be in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. There's a National Inventors Hall of Fame and a Black Inventors Hall of Fame as well. So that may be a resource, for that you can, get out to the board, but,
yes.
And then go from there. I would also look at, I don't know if you look at the Schomburg Center, but they may, have that information on her as well.
That makes total sense. I would definitely Google that and send that over to George and Ursula to send out to you.
Okay. All right. Not a problem.
Thank you.
So, thank you very, very much. So, board members, so here's what's going to happen. So, as I said before, there are some board members that want to discuss me, and so I'm going to let them do that, but we're going to go into executive session to do just that. So with that being said, I'm going to call this meeting to adjourn and ask for a motion, and then we're going to go into the executive session. So board members, you need to stay and hear what some board members have to say, and then I will address their concerns. Okay. So before we do that, I need a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Reed makes a motion. Has it been seconded?
Michael, I don't want to address you. I wanted to address the community and the community board.
Okay, well, hang on for a second. You'll get a chance to do that. Is there a second?
Why does it have to go into executive session then?
Is there a second? No?
I second.
Okay, you seconded, Ms. Benitez? Okay. So all those in favor, raise your hand. Okay. All opposed have the same right. Meeting adjourned. All right, so now we're going into executive sessions.